Faces dropped on a Wednesday edition of Soccer Down Here. It is a Wall Pass Wednesday edition. Topics could go anywhere and everywhere. Buckle up. Who knows? We got games that happened in Europe yesterday. We got to talk about. We got games that happened all over the United States yesterday. We got to talk about. We got games that happened all over South America last night that we have to talk about. We have a game yesterday in Mexico City that is the CONCACAF Champions League semifinal first leg that we have to talk about. We have news and rumors and innuendo from everywhere, all kinds of stuff. We have guys making throw-ins that go like 50, 60 yards, and Stoke City salivating, waiting to sign this player, I'm sure. We have Phil Foden looking very un-English at times and doing things at Manchester City. So lots of stuff to talk about in the SDH universe this morning. I'm Jason Longshore, if you don't know, joined by John Nelson and Jarrett Smith. Jarrett, let's start with Manchester City and Atleti. There's really not much to talk about with the Liverpool-Benfica game. Liverpool won, as was expected. That wasn't a surprise. It pretty much went down as you would think. The Atleti City game went down in a lot of ways like you would think, except Atleti was maybe even more defensive than you might have expected. They broke out the randomly used 5-5-0 formation quite a bit. That's why formations don't really matter, folks. Antoine Griezmann and Joao Felix playing as auxiliary wingbacks, I guess, kind of. No shots for Atleti. They weren't able to really get forward well. Credit Manchester City with how they defended straight away. And look, when you're going against a 5-5-0, it ain't easy to find a goal-scoring opportunity. City struggled for a while to find one. They eventually did because Phil Foden went through the tunnel between the legs of a defender with a beautiful pass that was finished by one of the best players in the world, in Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, that's what I talked about yesterday is I thought they would find a way because of moments of individual brilliance, and that's what they got. They got Phil Foden coming on off the bench. As impressive as the pass is, it's the fact that he takes that ball in traffic, turns on it, keeps touch, takes one touch, gets it on his right foot, and then just drops it in there perfectly, goes 5-hole, and then on top of that has the perfect weight for De Bruyne to run onto it. And yeah, I mean, Kevin De Bruyne in that situation is going to finish. City will wish they probably wish they had a second one, just because it's nice to have a second one going into Madrid, but they got the one goal, and they're not in a situation now where you're going into Madrid and all they need is one goal and you're out. Now, if they get a goal, I mean, you go to penalties and it's not great, but it was important to get that one goal, and yeah, it took that moment of brilliance.
I wish I had a Ferrari, Jarrett, actually, if we're playing the wish game. It wasn't easy, and
No, I don't mean to
that's
imply that it was.
for sure. No, some have, sadly. Some of the wonderful pundits who have covered this one have tried to find ways to slander Pep Guardiola and Manchester City for not being able to break down a 5-5-0. Guardiola's comment to that after the game was, in prehistory, today, and in the future, it will be very difficult to attack two banks of five, especially when they're as well drilled as Atleti was. It was the game that Atleti chose. It was City doing what City does, and they were really only able to find the one great opportunity. I don't think anybody's surprised that we're going to go to Madrid in the second leg with nothing decided. That was the plan coming in from Diego Simeone. He got what he wanted, I think, to a degree, even though he said they came in, they wanted to win. Of course, he would have loved more. He wishes he had been able to find more. He wasn't. Pep would have loved to have had a second goal, wishes he could have found it, wasn't going to happen. So now you're going to go another 90, maybe more, in Madrid, depending on what happens. And it was kind of preordained when this draw happened, right, John?
Oh, yeah. You're looking at this particular matchup, and the old maxim that we always use in a two-leg situation is that you can't win it in the first leg, but you sure as heck can lose it. And I've seen so many folks sit there and already write off Atleti. And it's like, oh,
who? Where are you seeing? Oh, no, never mind. I know where you're seeing this. Sorry.
Yeah.
So one day I'm going to get you to read some other places, because who in the world would say that who has a sense of this game at all.
Right.
Good grief.
And that's what I was getting at, is that in this situation, Diego Simeone and Atleti have more than a chance going home down by 1, considering what they did. You don't lose it you can lose it in the first leg. Atleti did not do that. They've given themselves a chance going home. Yes, it was difficult, but that's what Atleti does. And going into this, I thought it was going to be a 1-goal game, whether it was going to be 1-0, 2-1, something like that, something to give Atleti that chance going back for the home leg. And it's not surprising to me that folks are sitting there and saying, "Oh, Atleti doesn't have a chance."
No, it's 100% surprising because it's incorrect.
That's what.
It's wrong.
It is wrong. It is absolutely wrong.
I seriously, I'm going to ask you to remove from your bookmarks some of these places that are saying that Atleti has no chance going into the second leg. Like, nobody would say that about anything in this situation. If you are on the road and you lose 1-0, we say this all the time when it comes to CONCACAF Champions League and other tournaments like this. You lose 1-0 on the road, you're taking home in the second leg. You're in a good spot. So seriously, remove some bookmarks, John, please.
Well, that and some folks that are a part of my timeline in the Bird app as well.
Well, then you can mute them. You can unfollow, whatever you choose to do, because I wouldn't say that really in any situation, let alone a Diego Simeone-led situation, going back home. You get a 1-0 loss on the road in leg 1. Are you ecstatic? No. Are you confident you can overturn it in your home leg? Yes. In every situation. We talked about this with Atlanta United. We've talked about this with teams in CONCACAF this year, last year, the year before. So no. Anybody who would say that, I mean, you don't have to bring that opinion to the table. That one is not worth discussing, because you go into the first leg of any series, especially if you are a team that is founded on defensive principles, like Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid. You're on the road. You want to give yourself an opportunity to win it at home, period. And he did that. Was it pretty? No. Is it what I would have liked to have seen? No. Is it what you knew was going to happen? Yes. Is it effective? Yeah, it was pretty effective. It's pretty effective because they're good. You can't just throw 10 guys behind the ball and expect it to work without being well trained and well organized and convincing the players of what they have to do. And when you're able to get Antoine Griezmann and Joao Felix to put in the defensive effort that they did in this game, full credit to Diego Simeone and what they got. It's one of those games where, Jared, I feel like both teams are content at the end of the 90, not happy, not disappointed. They're content, and they know the next 90 minutes is going to be a brawl.
Yeah, you got, if you're Man City, you got your 1-goal lead to go in there. You know it's going to be tough. You know it's going to be probably going to be some dark arts. There were dark arts building at the end of that game, actually. It was pretty entertaining for me.
Oh, yeah. No, they tried. Credit to City. Credit to City. They didn't fall for the bait.
No, there was a couple moments I thought they were, though. I'm not going to lie. Like, there were a few moments like, oh, someone's going to snap. And they didn't. And credit to them for it, because it could have gotten sideways real quick on them. But they did a good job of dealing with it. And now you're left with a situation where, hey, if we go in and we play our game defensively, then we're going to be fine. And we can ride this out. We're in a situation where they are going to have to come and deliver. They're going to have to be the ones that bring the fight. Like, yeah, you're going to fight because you're City, because Pep Guardiola's not going to, he's not going to put it in a shell necessarily, but
no, he won't.
Atleti's going to have to, how can I phrase this? They're
going to have to open up a little bit.
Yeah, open up is a good way to describe it.
But that's the thing, and that's where both teams have good feeling and bad feeling going into the second leg. Because if you're Manchester City, you've got the 1-goal advantage, but you're going on the road. You know that you can control the game with your possession, but you know that it's going to be hard to score another goal to make this comfortable. You also know that Atleti has to score a goal. So they're going to have to come out and play a little bit more, which will give you more opportunities to try to get in behind. Atleti comes into it knowing they only gave up the 1 goal on the road. They can score goals. Look at the firepower they have. They can easily find the attack. They can do that, but they're not going to be risky in it, but they're going to have to open up a little bit. But they also know that City's not just going to shut up shop. So they're going to have some opportunities to open up. It's a really interesting second leg. It was an interesting first leg. I mean, it was an interesting set of discussions depending on which groups of people you were listening to. After the first half, I switched over and watched the game in Spanish, and it was like night and day in terms of the reaction to it. Some of the comments at halftime on Paramount Plus were surprising. Comparing it to a preseason game was one that I was shaking my head rather vociferously. And then I'm reading, things on Twitter and looking into things, and it's like, this is a chess match. And this is talking about it. This was in Spanish. It was a chess match. It's a tactical battle. Simeone is where he wants to be here, and what is he going to do, and what's Pep going to do, and it's just fascinating to see the reactions to these things. You bring up dark arts, and we mentioned it coming in. Being defensive is not dark arts. Grabbing Jack Grealish's hair is dark arts. Kicking a ball into, I think it was Foden on the ground to try to provoke him, dark arts. They tried the dark arts on Jack Grealish, fouled 5 times in 22 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Last player to be fouled as many times in a Champions League match while playing as few minutes was Fran for Deportivo versus Porto in May of 2004. And then they'd grab the hair of Jack Grealish and try to get him going, and he didn't take the bait.
Yeah, Barco calls that a slow Tuesday.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. That's 5 and 22 minutes. That's a whole different.
Guardiola even got in between Grealish and the Atleti players that were trying to goad him into something. So to make
that was Foden. I thought it was after the ball was kicked into the player on the ground. It wasn't when they were grabbing Grealish's hair because that was out on the field. It was.
I wasn't talking specifically about the grabbing of the hair, but in goading him in where Jack is standing up for a teammate.
That was the Foden situation. Yeah.
And so Guardiola makes sure that Jack Grealish doesn't get an unnecessary yellow by getting in between him and literally pushing him away and pushing him downstream a good 5 yards to just get away from all of the stuff that you were.
Yeah, it was good pass blocking.
Yeah, it was. It was good hands up, making sure that he was
Pep will take that yellow. He doesn't want Grealish taking that yellow, and
that's the point. He's happy to take that yellow to keep his player from taking that yellow.
Yeah, they didn't fall for that stuff late because look, that's the next tactic when you're at Atleti. You've come in, you've defended, you concede to a moment of brilliance. Okay, you're probably not going to find a goal late on the road. Okay, what can you do to damage City going into the second leg? You can get somebody a red card. And they tried, and they didn't pull it off. Again, it's a credit to the composure of Manchester City, who I thought did their job in this match. It's not done. It wasn't going to be in 90 minutes. It's 180. I think you saw the celebration from Guardiola and his staff, how much it meant to have that breakthrough. And honestly, it goes back to something we talk about a lot. It goes down to these moments of individual players being allowed to be creative. Foden came on, and of course, I'm sure that some of John's timeline was saying, "Oh, well, why didn't he start then?"
Yeah.
Bark, 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 bark. Yeah. Because they've got a big game against Liverpool this weekend.
I can tell you, it's not just John's timeline.
Oh, I know. I just know his timeline had it.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's on my timeline. It's on your timeline. It's on everybody's timeline. But you go into this. I thought Janusz Mihalik this morning on the football show nailed it. And I really loved Janusz's takes on all of this because we were on the same wavelength with a lot of this stuff about this matchup and how it went down and some of the criticisms and all that. It's like, look, City's got almost 4 finals. Well, 3 straight finals now after this one. This one was not a final. You've got a final with a second leg. You've got what could decide the league. And you've got an FA Cup match. You've got essentially 3 finals out of 4 games in a row you've got to rotate your squad. You've got to pick and choose a little bit. And when you have a squad like Manchester City, you're already doing that for the most part. So what is the more effective strategy when you come in and all right, I have a very good suspicion here that Diego Simeone is going to come in and be defensive on the road. Why would I think that? Because he's done that throughout his career. Okay. What would I like to have, knowing I'm going to have to manage people's minutes over these next 4 games? I'd like to have a game changer like Phil Foden and Jack Grealish coming off the bench to be able to break down a tired team that's been defending for 60, 70 minutes, whatever. That's called strategery, folks.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to manage those minutes a little bit. And when you have a squad with depth, you're going to rotate. I think it's something that we're going to get to see more in MLS. And look, we've had the conversation with Atlanta United. You're going to see some different lineups for different opponents and different situations. You have teams that are starting to build depth where the starting 11 is not just, oh, that's the starting 11. Oh, that's not what's starting today. Panic in the streets. No, you're going to have to move guys around a little bit. Foden coming off the bench, Grealish coming off the bench to break down a tired team. It worked. So Guardiola won that battle. How they handle the second leg is going to be fascinating. How they handle the game this weekend against Liverpool is going to be fascinating because, look, the midweek game, advantage Liverpool because they didn't have as much hard work to do. Yes, credit to Trent Alexander-Arnold and his pass. Thank you, Ragamuffin. I saw your post earlier. It was brilliant. Luis Diaz, brilliant. Still blowing my mind that Tottenham hesitated on signing him, according to his father. Why would you hesitate on signing him with what you've seen in your Tottenham? I don't know. 2 goals early. Darwin Nunez pulled one back early in the second half, made it a little bit of a battle, but I mean, Liverpool was in control of this most of the way. They didn't have to sweat as much. And now you go into the biggest game of the year in the Premier League, right? Right, John? Are you excited? Are you pumped? Are you going to have a all-day watch party waiting on the game to pop up?
Woohoo!
It's your league, man.
But there's still a lot of space left in the season. I know that the players are saying all the right things on both sides.
Not that much. It's around 32.
Yeah, so you're looking at 7 or 8, and depending on who you're talking to, and there's always going to be twists toward the end. Yes, this one is big. Yes, there's only a 1-point difference, but still, as we thought, what was it, a month, 6 weeks, 2 months ago that this thing was done and dusted and that Manchester City was going to be running away with the Premier League title, and then Liverpool has closed the gap. I still think that there are more changes that are going to be going on between.
There's only 6 games left, John.
6 weeks. No, there's always that last element. I don't think that this is the last stanza of the song. I think that you're going to have a coda happen somewhere.
Right. Where is it going to happen for Manchester City? Because they've got Brighton at home. They've got Watford at home. They go to Leeds. They've got Newcastle at home. They go to West Ham. They've got Villa at home. That's what they have left after this game with Liverpool. Liverpool, what they have left, they've got Manchester United at home. They've got Everton at home. They go to Newcastle. They've got Tottenham at home. They go to Villa. They go to Southampton. They get Wolves at home. It's a little bit tougher for Liverpool, but they've shown that they've been able to handle the league. Of course, you got to finish it out, but I'm not expecting a coda. I think this game decides it.
But I'm still including the other action from Champions League in there as well. If you're focused,
that's not Premier League. I'm talking about the Premier League specifically. I don't think that it will have a distraction. Both teams are, let's say, in the driver's seat. Liverpool much more in the driver's seat. They're going a lot faster in the car towards the next round of the Champions League. But City in the driver's seat. They have the lead. I mean, that's fair. So both teams are probably going to the next round of the Champions League. So neither one's going to get an advantage there. I mean, if City got knocked out here, I don't think it plays to their advantage to not have games because of the letdown you're going to have. So I think it might hurt you more than it would help you. I don't think the Champions League is going to affect this. I think it's down to this game. And you sound like a Peacock executive on this, which I get because you don't want to say that it's over after this game.
I want to keep having people watching my product that you have to pay for.
I hope you're getting a kickback because I'm not buying it. I'm not. I think this is it. I think Liverpool's more likely to drop points after this, but I don't think they do. I think getting Manchester United at home, fine, they'll win that. Getting Tottenham at home, they should win that. Like they're not going to be able to sleepwalk through this thing, but they should handle it. They've been incredible, absolutely incredible since we thought it was over when City opened up the huge lead.
Mm-hmm.
And City hasn't been incredible. They've been good. And now you got a game that's going to decide it. That City kind of played their way into this, so now they have to play their way out of it. And this game should decide the league. I really think it will.
Yeah, Jurgen Klopp, I want to say it was after the match yesterday, he says that beating Manchester City won't decide who wins the title. And I would like to thank him as well for continuing interest in the Premier League for the remaining 6 matches of the
manager
season.
speak. You have to say that.
Oh, you have.
That doesn't mean it's fully factual, but a manager has to say that.
Yeah,
we got to read between the lines sometimes on this. This game should decide the league. If it doesn't, it's not because of this game. It's because somebody screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
Is I think what it comes down to. It's just because somebody dropped points where they shouldn't. Other things on the board from Champions League. I mean, you did have more things thrown. It looks like you had lighters thrown from Benfica fans, John.
Yep, lighters were thrown, and
great.
And so as we continue to maintain on this show, find them and prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law.
Well, somebody chucked it was either a crutch or a stick or a cane at Luis Diaz after his goal. So, and that's clear on video. You can see the guy's face. And so that should be an easy one.
Yeah, and I give Andy Robertson full credit after the match. And here's the quote from our friends at BT Sport. He says, "I had quite a few lighters thrown at me. Maybe it'll help them stop smoking. You got to take the positives. We've seen it a lot. People getting hit. Luckily, they were all quite close to me, but they didn't hit me. It's tough when it's late in the game. Fans are frustrated, but you should not throw stuff onto the pitch. It could hurt people. I was just trying to take the corner and get out of there as quick as possible."
Yeah, give him credit for not chucking it back at somebody.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Go on the CCTV cameras, find them, kick them out, prosecute them. They're not welcome back. This is not what we need in this sport for seemingly the 720.
It's every sport. It's not just soccer. It's life. Go to Knoxville, Tennessee and ask them about throwing golf balls and mustard bottles on the field.
Stupid people.
Just stop acting like children throwing your toys when you don't get your way. And yeah, we talk about it a lot because it's happening in every big game now. Every single game it's happening where stuff's getting thrown, and it's embarrassing and it's stupid and it's childish and it's got to stop. And it has to, the way it stops is not by ignoring it and saying, it's just part of the game. No, it should not be. It stops when, Jim Smith, made up name here, however old he is, acting like a 5-year-old, threw something on the pitch and hit this player, and he is now suspended from attending games for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, life. I don't care. And he's been arrested for assault.
Mm-hmm.
When those announcements start coming, that's when you see a change in the behavior. Until then, we just yell about it. One day, it'll change. That's Champions League. I mean, any questions from the Twitch pitch that we need to get to on Champions League, John?
Not particularly. There were no questions.
Any comments you want to bring up from the Champions League? Better takes than your timeline?
Absolutely. Burns says he liked De Bruyne's interview after. He says it was like playing handball. You have to go around and around the defensive wall.
Yeah, and it's something that City does, I think, really well in general, where they try to stretch the field on you, because what they're trying to do, and we've talked about this with positional play, you want your wingers high and wide. You want a striker, Solo, and you're creating two half spaces, essentially, two channels. You want 5 channels going vertical down the field, and you're creating 2 in between the forward and the winger that a guy like Kevin De Bruyne is just, he excels in that part of the field. He excels in finding that space and exploiting it. So you're trying to get wide, and what Atleti does in response is they're trying to get wide with their 10 that are defending, because you can go back and look at stills from that game. It's 2 lines of 5 most of the way, and it's stretched out kind of differently. And this is where Atleti's so good, and this is where Simeone's so good, is it's not always the same way that they stretch out. The accordion, kind of expands in different ways for them. Sometimes it's the attacker in the first line of 5 who's a little bit wider, trying to take away that space. Sometimes it's the wing back on that side trying to take away the space, and they slide really well and they make it difficult. But you're trying to stretch the field as wide as possible, every blade of grass, to be able to find that one opening, because it might not be wide that you create the opening, but you might open up a part of the back line. And that's where Foden and De Bruyne are able to exploit it. And you have to work the ball and work the ball and work the ball and work the ball, knowing that what Atleti is trying to get you to do is, when you're doing that, have a giveaway, have a bad pass, have a bad touch, turn it over, boom, they're gone. And that's what the game was turned into. And it almost worked for Atleti, but it didn't quite. But they're not done. And City's not in a fully comfortable spot either. So you've got a little bit different storyline coming into the second leg. You've got Atleti at home. They know they can win this. City knows they can win this. Second leg should be fascinating. And that's the chess match. It was like a chessboard. You're trying to move the pieces around to create advantages, and Atleti did a great job of nullifying advantages for the overwhelming majority of the game, but not quite the full 90.
Yeah, Simeone said after the match that part of their original game plan was that they had anticipated Foden starting, and then obviously having to regroup from that, and then with 20 or 30 minutes to go, he also mentioned having to readjust when you take 3 guys off, meaning Manchester City, and you bring on 3 as equally talented players for that stretch run. And so it is a chess match that takes constant adjustment. And for me, and I, like you yesterday, I watched it specifically from the Spanish language coverage. I always kind of gravitate that way when I'm watching games in Champions League or games of import from the European competition, just so I can get their energy and I can get their feel for what's going on. Because, as you say, there are a lot of times when you're going with other announced teams and they're sitting there and they don't understand. It seems like they don't understand the context of what's going on in front of them. And it's just, tab A, slot B, matter of fact, this is what's going on, and not understanding all of the elements that are going on that are attached to it. No, I was like you yesterday. I watched it off with 2 to inning, and I'll probably do it again today.
Well, it depends on the game for me, honestly. I think there's a greater appreciation for tactics in different parts of the world. And it's not purely Spanish language versus English language. Italy, for example, the breakdowns that they will go into tactically in their football newspapers, very, very in depth. And there is a huge appreciation for tactics there. Same in Germany. But I think some of the coverage of English teams or of the English game, it's not as tactical as it is the physical. And it's a shame, because you have people doing some fascinating things tactically in England. Obviously Pep, obviously Klopp, and we've talked about the two of them and how they approach things and how they do things sometimes differently, how they've evolved. Neither one is the same person that they were when they showed up in England, and they've adapted. And you have a variety of things happening tactically in the Premier League. I just don't think it gets appreciated as much. And it's a shame, because it's a huge part of the game, And that's why I disagree with some of the, I think, increasing drumbeat of, the coaches don't really have that much of an effect. Nah, they don't really have that much of an effect. Yeah, they do. Look at that game. Look at that game specifically. Sometimes even when the coaches don't have a direct effect, they're actually having an effect when they know when to back off. And I think Carlo Ancelotti, for example, is one who's brilliant at that. Zinedine Zidane was brilliant at that at Madrid. they didn't overly complicate it with the teams that they had because it suited that team. Ancelotti can kind of walk into any club, any kind of philosophy that they might have, and he'll be able to make it work and adapt to that and put his own spin on it. He's not a system guy, and that has value. Managers are incredibly important. And I think in some parts of the world, the tactics on the day are just more appreciated than in others, where in others, it's more about the physicality on the day. I kind of tend to lean towards the tactical discussions. I think you guys know that by now. It'll be fascinating, the second leg. It'll absolutely be fascinating. Today in Champions League. Interesting game. I don't think it's going to be as interesting on the tactics, but it's going to be very interesting. And mentioned Carlo Ancelotti. He will be there. He has tested negative for COVID. He missed their game on the weekend, Real Madrid, but he is en route, or he is already in London now, as Chelsea will host Real Madrid at 3:00. Villarreal hosts Bayern. Alphonso Davies could start in that one for Bayern. He will absolutely take part, according to Julian Nagelsmann, but he could be starting in that one. Chelsea, Madrid, early numbers right now, plus 105 to Chelsea. Madrid plus 275. Draw is plus 230. Villarreal and Bayern. Villarreal, the home dog, at plus 425. Bayern minus 175. Draw plus 333. And then in the Premier League, John, I know this is one you're salivating about. Don't lie. You're not going to watch 2DNA today. You're going to be watching wherever this game is. I don't know if it's Peacock or USA. Burnley and Everton. Woo!
I will for context, not just because I'm sitting there and I'm enjoying what Sean Dyche does.
You will love it.
I watch for context because I'm just as all right. I'm just as intrigued.
You can watch for drama. It's compelling because of, it's not just context. It's compelling because it's a relegation battle. But you're not watching it for quality. That's for sure.
No, that is absolutely not the case. But where Sean Dyche will, you saw a 5-5 from Simeone yesterday. If Sean Dyche could do a 1-9-1, John,
please, never, ever compare Sean Dyche to Diego Simeone again. Please don't do that again.
If Sean Dyche could put 13 behind the ball, he would. It is.
He'd have them in shirt sleeves in the snow too.
Yes, and walking uphill both ways to perform their duty.
No. Just don't compare him to Simeone again.
It's a painful watch when you're looking at Burnley. But
this is the thing, and I'm sorry you made the comparison. I gotta finish this.
Okay.
What Diego Simeone did was in no way, nothing at all, nada, no, like what Burnley does.
No.
Because it was No, you compared it, John. Don't do that. You compared it. It's not the same, because what Atleti did was organized and was tactical, and there were things they were trying to do to get out. They weren't able to because City counterpressed really well. But what Burnley does is literally just get numbers behind the ball and hoof it. There's nothing tactical except stay behind the ball. It's so different. It's just, you can't even compare. Are they both defensive? Yes. That part you can say is the same. But no, there's nothing like what those two do.
Oh, as I said, Burnley is a painful watch. Atleti, I enjoy the chess game that we see from Diego Simeone. Sean Dyche and Burnley, I do not enjoy that at all. But as we said, because of the context of what's going on at the bottom of the table, I enjoy the battle for the top in European places, and I enjoy the context of what's going on for the relegation fight just because of who's going to stay up and all of that. This is Burnley and Everton, and the juice box guys, they're kind of flinching at this one too. They have no idea, considering that Everton's, I think, 3 points clear of relegation right now. And Burnley has only won 3 matches this year in the Premier League, to show you the level of success that Sean Dyche has in the Premier League.
They've drawn 12.
Yeah, woo. I think that means
that's 12 points.
Yeah, they've lost 16, I think. So
no, they've lost 13. They've
13.
lost less games than any of these other teams at this level because that's what Sean Dyche has chosen to do.
Yeah.
I mean, he's keeping games tight. They have very little attack. They've scored 22 goals in 28.
Mhm.
They've only conceded 40. I mean, when you go up the table, you're going all the way up to 13th to find somebody who's conceded less in Brighton. Then you're going up to 9th to Crystal Palace, 38. They've been good defensively because that's all they've done, because that's what they have, because that's what he believes in. That's what he thinks keeps the team up.
Defend and survive.
I mean, that it's worked for them in the past. I get it. I don't like it. I get it. But it's not tactical other than the decision to be defensive. It's just, it's really don't sacrifice anything, or it's don't take any chances. It's put everybody behind the ball, sacrifice all the attack. Everton's not that team. Everton's a much better attacking team. They're not great. They're not horrendous defensively. They've conceded 49, but they have been really a hit or miss kind of team. And this is the difference. Burnley, yeah, they've only won 3 times, but they've drawn 12. They've gotten a result in 15. 12 of those have only been 1-point results, but still. Everton has lost 17 games.
Mm-hmm.
They've won 7, but they've only drawn 4. You know, it's they've only gotten results in 11 games, but only 4 of those were of the 1-point variety. That's why they have a 4-point lead. But this game could go either way, and Burnley is hosting it. It's a toss-up.
Yeah. Turf more traditionally, a tough place to play because of how Sean Dyche structures things.
Well, Burnley's 2-6-6 at home.
And so fine. In other seasons when they weren't scrapping for relegation, how about that? Leading into this year?
Well, Everton on the road is 1-10-3, so it's not like it's any better the other way.
Yeah, but no, it will be on in the room somewhere just to see what's going on.
You'll be loving it. Don't lie. It's okay. You'll be loving it. It'll be compelling. It will be. It absolutely will be compelling. It will be pretty.
It is compelling. It isn't pretty. I won't be loving it. It is compelling. There's a difference to me between compelling and loving what I'm seeing.
You might be loving it because it might be the most compelling game of the games this afternoon. It could be because it's the first leg with Chelsea and Madrid. Neither team's going to want to give that away. Chelsea's got to go for the goals there, but Madrid, we saw what Carlo Ancelotti did in Paris. He's going to be smart. He's not going to be crazy here. He's not going to try to blow this in 90. Bayern should handle Villarreal pretty comfortably. The Burnley-Everton game might be the most compelling of those 3. It really might, and that's fine. That it's again, it's you can enjoy games in different ways. I don't enjoy generally defensive games, but this is not just a defensive game. This isn't Burnley and West Ham in a game that has no meaning. This is a team in Burnley that I don't enjoy watching against Everton, 17 versus 19. This is a relegation fight. There is compelling storylines here. It could be the most compelling of it. It might not be the game that you're going to watch back in terms of looking for good football or great tactics or any of that. And that's fine too. It could be the most compelling and entertaining of them because of what's at stake and where they are in the table. That's what we love about the game. I mean, Jarrett, we talk about this with different leagues and enjoying different leagues. You're watching U.S. Open Cup last night. You're enjoying some of those games. Are you going to put that at the top of the technical or the tactical sphere or the quality sphere? No, but North Carolina Fusion U23 coming back from 2-1 down to beat Charlotte Independence in a cup game. Wow, that's compelling. That's a good watch.
It's great entertainment when it happens. And then it's the magic of the cup, and we do that in every country. Every country has that mindset of, hey, the cup is magical. Let's enjoy it when it happens. It was wonderful. And then you get, like I said, now this is what we talked about yesterday. We talked about it last week, Jason. We're staring right down the barrel of a potential Tampa Bay Orlando street fight, and that's all I really
wanted.
Out
on Friday. We will
That's
find
all
out.
I really wanted.
We won't get a Charlotte FC Charlotte Independence matchup because the Independents are knocked out. Your winners in the Open Cup last night, it was 2-1 Charlotte at halftime. Yeah, at halftime. And then NC Fusion, U23s, the former Carolina Dynamo, equalizing the 51st, and 2 late goals, 88th and 95th. And the USL League 2 team beat the USL League 1 team 4-2. Pittsburgh Riverhounds, pretty comfortable over Maryland Bobcats of Nisa, 2-0. Tampa Bay Rowdies, very, very comfortable. Lucky Mkasana with a hat trick in 53 minutes. Lawrence Wyke got on the board late, 6-0 for the Rowdies over the Villages. Yeah, not surprised. Detroit City, 3-0 over Michigan Stars. Detroit City will be in Kennesaw to face Atlanta United 2 on the weekend. They had to fight for this a little bit in the first half, but they got 2 goals 2 minutes apart on corners. Took a 2-0 lead to halftime. Lewis got a second one in the second half. Comfortable in the end after 45 minutes of work for Detroit City. Indy 11 at home lost to St. Louis City 2 of MLS Next Pro. Armstrong with the first goal. Juan Kusain, a player that I really like and one that I hope finds a way through. He's not the biggest guy, but he's super technical. Couldn't break through in Kansas City. He's now in St. Louis. Scored in the 72nd. Union Omaha had to fight for it. They come back to win 2-1 over Des Moines Menace. FC Tulsa beat Tulsa Athletic 2-1 in, a little bit closer game than you might have thought with a USL Championship versus NPSL matchup. 2 goals in the first 20 minutes for FC Tulsa. They conceded 1 in the 77th, had to sweat it a little bit at the end. San Antonio FC of USL Championship 3-1 over Defeaters Kicks SC. Man, I was hoping they would find a way through.
I wanted them to succeed just because of the name.
Yes. New Mexico United 5-0 over Las Vegas Legends of NPSL. That was not close. Orange County 5-2 over Los Angeles Force of Nisa. That was not close, really, at much of a point. It was 3-1. 3 goals in the first 33 minutes for Orange County. The biggest surprise, and I would put this as a bigger surprise than the no, it's probably not quite as big as North Carolina Fusion U23. El Paso Locomotive USL Championship, a team that I've always felt like is one of the better ones in the championship, but they're going through a lot of changes. They lost 4-1 to Central Valley Fuego of USL League 1. And El Paso didn't get their goal until the 80th. It was 4-0. That's a pretty surprising result. It's League 1 versus championship. There is a lot of talk about future promotion relegation between those leagues and inter USL Cup competitions like League Cup stuff to see which one and where the gap is. There is a gap. There's a gap in budgets. There's a gap in quality across the full leagues. But Central Valley Fuego coming into League 1, that's announcing your presence with authority.
Yeah, Viljan Bijev, who we've seen in other places in League 1 and in the championship, came up big. And you mentioned El Paso, and El Paso has had a rough start to the USL Championship this year. And they're at the bottom of the table in the West, and it's new coach Mark Lowry now. He's in Indy 11. Just trying to check the numbers real quick. In the first 4 matches for El Paso, bottom of the table, they've given up 13 goals, and they've scored 8. So that 13 that they have given up, that is by far and away the most goals allowed in the Western Conference. You've got 9 and 8 with other teams toward the bottom of the table. Vegas Lights gave up 9, 5 in one match. But, yeah, it's really, really rough right now with the early stages in El Paso with a new coach and philosophy being implemented.
Round 2 continues in the Open Cup tonight. 6 o'clock start. Flower City Union, Rochester, New York, NISA team hosting the Western Mass Pioneers. That's 6 o'clock on ESPN+. 7 o'clock, Charleston Battery hosting South Georgia Tormenta. That is an intriguing one, and that is one that I'm sure folks at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground will be watching because maybe they see one of those teams in round 3. 7 o'clock, FC Motown, after ending Jarrett's bid to win the picks of the week. No, you were already out of it well before that, but you missed that one. You didn't believe in the Motown. Did not believe in him at all. In winning the revenge game after Westchester United had a temporary sub for concussions that wasn't allowed in the tournament, and they had to replay the game, and Motown ended up winning it the second time around. They will be hosting AC Syracuse Pulse of NISA. I think that is Syracuse's first ever competitive match because NISA hasn't officially started yet, or it's slowly starting. It's a little confusing as to when teams are starting in that league. The Miami FC is hosting Miami United, the battle of the swag in South Florida, because both teams generally have great uniforms. So that one could be a pretty one.
But do we get to see the most nightmare-inducing mascot?
Probably.
They're at home.
Yeah.
So we should at a FIU stadium, Jared.
I believe
You want
his
to tell
name is
everybody about it?
Galazzo, the mascot, is.
I think that's right.
Imagine Bolt the Ibis, but bad.
Imagine Bolt the Ibis from South Georgia Tormenta, but bad. Bad in what way?
Kind of terrifying.
Like nightmare bad?
Yeah, like bad, nightmare bad.
Rides a scooter entirely too much, tries to distract on the scooter during matches.
Well, what's wrong with that? That's a mascot who's paying attention to the team talk.
But yeah, it's
if there was a mascot that John Moxon was going to hit with a football, Galazzo would be high on that list.
I can buy that. The Miami FC, we actually do have numbers on this one. They are a minus 600, and Miami United is a plus 900. The 90-minute draw is a plus 550. No love for Miami United at all in their teal and pink. North Carolina FC hosting Rio Grande Valley FC. That's a long trip for the Toros. That's USL League One former championship team, North Carolina, hosting Rio Grande Valley, the championship. We have Louisville City at 7:30 hosting the Chattanooga Red Wolves. The Red Wolves are a plus 800 on the board on SofaScore. Lou City's a minus 350. Lou City this year, John, how are you feeling about Lou City?
I think that when you look at them in the East, I think that there are teams that are better than them. We sit there and we look at windows and retirements and things like that. And you're going, I think Tampa Bay's better. And they still don't have Cameron Lancaster as a part of their offense yet so far. And I mean, out of the blocks, they're 3-2, they've only given up one. But I still think that you look at Pittsburgh, you look at Tampa, and I think that they're better than Lou City, even without Cameron Lancaster.
Yeah, they're not 3-2 in terms they've lost 2. They're undefeated in 5. Right. They have won 3 and drawn 2, and in 5 games they've only conceded 1. I was right there with you coming in. I thought Lou City would slip back a little bit this year, but they're finding something that works. And they're somewhere on your scale of defensive tactics / just defend. I think they're a little bit higher up than Burnley in terms of not wanting to ever, get into the other team's half, because that's a scary place to be, and not as tactical as Diego Simeone. But they're finding ways. They haven't lost. They got 3 wins. We saw them in the first game against Atlanta United too, and they've gotten better since then, but they're not as dominant as they've been in the past. It's a 1-0, it's a 2-0, it's a 2-0, it's a 1-1, it's a scoreless draw.
Yeah.
They're going to have to take a step forward, I think, to compete with some of the top teams in the East, but they're hanging around. 8:00, Forward Madison hosting Cleveland SC. Remember, Cleveland had to come back and score a stoppage time goal and then win in extra time to get here. They have an outstanding goalkeeper, Cleveland SC. I don't have numbers on this one, but you want to give me an upset special? And sorry, Badgermon, I know you're one of our resident Forward Madison fans. Cleveland SC is my cup set in tonight's matches because of that goalkeeper. He might be able to pull off another miracle. We'll see. Northern Virginia FC hosting Richmond Kickers. Leesburg is where Northern Virginia is based. I guess that's kind of a derby, right?
Yeah.
Close?
Yeah. I think it's just kind of heading just to the outskirts of DC. So it's just like right up and down the freeway, I would think.
Up
and down the freeway.
Sort of derby-ish. I think this would be derby-ish as well. Colorado Springs Switchbacks hosting Northern Colorado Hailstorm.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in Colorado duck. This game's going to be ridiculous. Hailstorm's a new League One team, and the Switchbacks are in the USL Championship. I don't have numbers on that one. I'm a little disappointed.
And this is the first match for Hailstorm, too. They didn't play in the first weekend for USL League One, so this is their first ever.
Tricky. We do have a derby in San Diego. ASC San Diego, Albion San Diego of NISA is hosting San Diego Loyal. Albion is plus 900 and San Diego Loyal is minus 600. Not a lot of love for the NISA squad in this one, according to the odds makers. Bay Cities FC hosting Monterey Bay, one of the new USL Championship teams this year. Monterey Bay Union is minus 550. Bay Cities plus 900. FC Tucson hosting the Las Vegas Lights tonight, maybe US Open Cup after dark. And Phoenix Rising hosting Valley United FC. Where's Valley United FC from, John?
Let's see if we can find it really quickly here.
You know all of these teams. I expect you to know this.
Valley
Jarrett, which game are you watching on ESPN Plus tonight?
I'll probably be flipping around because that's what I do with US Open Cup. Because US Open Cup is one of those where if you try and lock in on one game, you might get a great game. Totally possible. You might also miss out on some beautiful chaos. And I guess if I had to pick one that I'm going to be focusing on a lot, it's probably going to be Tormenta in Charleston because that is our local one.
Yeah.
I am still waiting to see if it's going to be North Carolina or Charleston. If both of them win, which isn't a guarantee, but if both of them win, will one of them draw Charlotte FC in MLS play?
Well, you got NC Fusion U23s,
Yeah.
So that's a possibility. North Carolina could get Charlotte. Charleston could get Charlotte. Yeah, there's a few options there. It could go, those teams could get bumped north into DC. They could get bumped a little bit to the west to get in with like your Cincinnati's and your Columbuses, depending. So it could go a few different ways.
This is the fun time, though, and look, we all love our random small teams like defeaters, where we learn about a new team and we all learn together.
No, mine plays tomorrow, Oyster Bay.
There you go. But you also have, like you said, Birmingham Legion and Southern States. This is where it gets
That's tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. This is where it gets fun and weird because now you're getting these teams that you just learned about that made it through the last round, getting their hands on a championship team in USL, and somebody's going to take a scalp, and it's going to get weird because somebody like a Southern States might decide, hey, we want to beat Birmingham and then go play an MLS team. And then we get the beautiful moments like when you had Christos FC scoring and taking the lead on DC United. Was it 4 years ago?
Yeah,
3-4
I
years
think
ago?
so. Maybe longer than that.
On a field that just had a hill, like just people just chilling out on the hill behind.
No, it was the Maryland Sportsplex.
Yeah,
the famous Maryland Sportsplex.
Yeah,
yes.
where you could sit on the berm if you so chose.
Yes.
Yeah, and everyone just sat there and watched a team sponsored by a local liquor store take a lead on DC United. So
then DC came back.
But this is.
Yeah,
they did convincingly. But this is where it gets fun to go because you are getting these smaller teams playing against the USL Championship teams, and hey, somebody's going to be on a headline whether you like it or not.
It's very possible. Where's Valley United from, John?
No playoff NASCAR helped us out there. Beat me to it. They play at Grand Canyon University. Fun fact: Jeffrey O'Toole is their starting striker.
Oh, that's right. They are
Wow.
a new
2017
UPSL
legend.
Are they UPSL local qualifier here?
NISA.
They're NISA. Okay. Yeah, Jeffrey O'Toole played for Atletico Atlanta, won a UPSL national championship with them as their captain, and he just moved out to Arizona for this. I couldn't remember if they were a new UPSL team with a lot of ambition or if they went straight to NISA. So, yeah, good for them. I think this has got to be one of their first games.
And founded as Atletico Olympians FC in 2020, joined the UPSL, played in the Southwest Conference, summer of 21, participated in the NISA Independent Cup September of 21, joined NISA for the 22 season.
Yeah, okay. So that's what you're seeing more teams do who are going NISA. They're going UPSL, then go into the kind of Independent Cup where they're getting to play some NISA teams to see if they can make the jump up to the next level. We've got a bunch of other stuff on the board, Jarrett, but I do want to get your take on this one before Mike Conti joins us. Seattle, New York City, first leg of the CONCACAF Champions League semifinals. In Seattle, they're a plus 110, NYC plus 240, draw plus 250. What are you thinking about this one?
I'm actually kind of torn on this one because as much as I do love Ronnie Dyla and what they've done, I imagine they're going to be pissed after what happened over the weekend. Seattle just kind of keeps doing Seattle related things. And now if guys are getting healthy for Seattle, then I like them at home. And I think this could be one of those fun games where, it's one of those fun draws where it's two legs of just throwing punches back and forth. Seattle takes something at home and then New York has a chance to take something when they get to host a game. Should be a lot of fun. Also, I do want to, as I leave and make room for my Conti, I do want to laugh and tell everyone, hey, keep an eye. I know that tomorrow night, Greenville Triumph and Oakland Roots play. Watch out for your local Triumph Twitter accounts because I imagine the salt will be plentiful, directed toward South Georgia Tormenta.
Probably.
The just I've gotten from the Greenville accounts is that South Georgia Tormenta is the very much that for Greenville, Charleston is the enemy of the enemy is my friend right now.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Greenville and Tormenta, they don't get along very well.
That's where I'm getting at.
Yeah, that's a good rivalry.
So watch out for the Greenville accounts turning into Charleston fans for like 2 hours. Actually, just 90 minutes on the dot. Then they will want to burn Charleston down on the field. But yes. Watch for the pettiness out of Greenville.
For sure. Thank you, Jarrett.
You're welcome. We'll see you.
All right, John, you got a new instrumental to try to tell everybody about our good friends at Eliminize because everybody hated the instrumental yesterday. So tell everybody about our good friends at Eliminize.
I can certainly do that. Eliminize service for odor-free, clean, fresh air. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. Eliminize service deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. Eliminize service offering a turnkey process that makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers. Eliminize service kind of the environment, we like that, offering a very green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents that we have under the sink, because those masking agents, they just cover up the odor. They don't attack the problem, like Eliminize does, going all the way down to the molecule to destroy the odor with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy, one of two ways. By cubic foot or parts per million. The price is affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any other questions, frequently asked or otherwise, there's one place you need to go. It's their website, eliminize.com. But do us a favor. After the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world you're reaching out to them from. So it's ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta. Eliminize.com /Atlanta. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, Eliminize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH.
Mike Conti, what did you think of John Nelson's read?
Well, like I was tuning in for the quiet storm. Very nice, very soothing.
Rather NPR-ish, eh?
Well, yeah, a little bit. Very soothing.
I tried to go with like dramatic music yesterday, and we nearly had a riot on the Twitch pitch. So I went with a different direction.
John has more inflection than your typical NPR DJ, but no,
yes,
that is true.
Very, very soothing. Very nice.
Here we go. Well, it was a good reaction to the music because I'm not letting John hear it beforehand.
No, I was waiting for the first note to try to figure out tone and then go from there.
Yeah, it's a good trick to play and see what happens. It was good. It was well done. We got a bunch of different things to talk about, Mike. I want to start with this one because it's making the rounds, and as Nico Cantor has shared, there are a lot of disputes about how valid this conversation is right now and how deep it really is. But we've talked about this before, like actual playing time in a match. And it feels like every game we have a debate on how much stoppage time they're going to add. You know, is it 3? Is it 5? Is it 8? Is it 12? What is it going to be? What should it be? There was a study done by the CIES Football Observatory that the ball is only in active play for 60.2% of the match on average in the Champions League. Now, you know, that's big stakes. Teams are going to try to find more time to waste in different points. I'd assume league play is probably a little bit higher. But this is being spread worldwide. Nico went through Corriere dello Sport in Italy, and he couldn't find the actual article. Basically, a conversation about FIFA saying, hey, this is a problem, and at the World Cup, they might try to find a way to solve this. And what has been floated is that they would have kind of a starting point of 10 minutes of stoppage time.
Oh.
Well, when you get if 60% is the on average, that's how much it's actually being played. If we were in other sports, you'd have the clock stopped and you would play the game of the full 90 and that would be it. What would you do in this regard to try to solve this problem of your time wasting and your shenanigans and just not playing a full 90 minutes of action?
All right, so two different things here, because let's put time wasting and shenanigans aside for a moment, because I think that's something that you can deal with in a different way.
Okay,
I'm not saying that I dispute the assertion that it's only 60.2% of the actual match where the ball is in play.
It's specifically Champions League.
Okay, and Champions League, but let's say even we're just talking about Champions League. I wonder how that's being measured, because quite honestly, when the ball is put down for a goal kick, as far as I'm concerned, it's in play.
Agree.
When the ball is put on the corner spot, as far as I'm concerned, it's in play.
When it's in somebody's hands to take a throw, it's
exactly.
in play.
Once it is in the thrower's hands, it's in play, because there's a lot, as you guys know, there's a lot of off-ball movement that occurs that's not necessarily time wasting. I mean, how many times have we seen throw-ins where the possessing team is waiting for a player to flash open, or waiting for some kind of off-the-ball movement to throw the ball in? So I struggle with the assertion that it's only 60%. And I don't watch nearly as much Premier League compared to MLS. I'll admit that. So maybe MLS is
me either. I'm right there with you.
Anomaly. Yeah. To me, that number does not feel right. That feels low to me.
They could be defining it a little bit differently than we are.
And that's the thing for me in this is, what are your terms for setting your numbers? I mean, we all sit there, and you can sit there and look at a poll, and the wordage of the poll will dictate your answer. What are you looking at here? What are you considering to be delay? What are you considering to be active play? And so I think for me, that's what we need here, is the information as to what they're laying out for their ground rules here as to what is and what isn't.
Yeah, I agree, John. I mean, look, I don't want to use the National Football League as a comparison, but what is the percentage of the National Football League where the ball is actually in play? It's probably less than 50% of the game.
It is. Yeah.
If you think
average
about
play
it.
is 7 seconds. Yeah.
Right. Now, again, when the ball is spotted, I believe it's in play. Mm-hmm. And some teams will have long snap counts or have action, within legal motions to set up for a play. So I feel like when the ball is spotted, it's in play. But just the dilly-dallying of the referee is going to change the ball out and the umpire is going to spot a new ball and they're going to move the chains and all of that, no one seems to have a problem with the NFL not having the ball in active play for 100% of the 60 minutes. To me,
where I'm at in soccer, because I think it has evolved. Howie on the Twitch pitch says that 60% is pretty in line with historical averages. Maybe maybe it is a little bit of the definition. I'm with you in terms of if the ball could be played, I consider it in play. If the thrower doesn't throw it or the goal kick isn't taken, it could be taken, so it's in play. But I feel like we are seeing more time wasting things, more things that make it feel like we're not playing as much as we have in the past. I think that has increased over the last few years.
Yeah, Jason, I totally agree with you there. 1,000%. And that's something that can be addressed.
Yeah, that's why I think the discussion has come up. It's not because people are taking longer on throw-ins or goal kicks than they used to. It's because of very specific reasons that it feels like it's getting extended.
Well, so like let's say, for example, goalkeeper makes a routine catch on a shot from distance and then decides to fall over the ball and stay down. Mm-hmm. Okay, now you get into referee's discretion. And I think referee's discretion has been too liberal when it comes to allowing those things to happen without adding the time back on. And I'm not even saying like throw cards, because you can be sending a lot of players off for routine time wasting things. But referees just need to get better at physically pressing the button on their watch and stopping play, and then restarting their watch when the ball is spotted for the goal kick.
I'd like to see the VAR do that instead.
Sure.
Or even the AVAR or the fourth, whoever you want to assign.
Well, exactly. Like, again, if you think about an American football game, there is an official timekeeper at all levels starting in high school. There's an official timekeeper up in the press box who's pushing the button. The AVAR can be that person. And then communicate down to the fourth official, hey, put 5 minutes on, put 6 minutes on. I would imagine, I'm just trying to think of the games that we've done. And Jason, you and I have probably done at least 100 together, probably more than that, right?
Good bit over, yeah.
I can only think of maybe one or two glaring instances where not enough time was put on. In fact, I can think of one match we did in the precisseason this year where they didn't even play 45 minutes, but that's
semantics of the argument, sir.
Right. But I honestly, I feel like this is something that does not happen that frequently. I think what does happen more frequently is when they put up 5 added minutes and they end up playing 7 or 8. And I'm not talking about stoppages within the 5 added minutes. I'm talking about where the heck is the whistle?
Yeah.
I think what's weird and what I get frustrated with, and Bart, I agree with you. I think the center referee trying to do it, you have too much to do. The center referee can't keep the time that is being lost. You're taking a guess. You're always going to come up short. I get that. I feel like where it changes is in the run of play. Let's say in the 70th to the 90th minute, if a team is time wasting, a team is doing things, the ref might get 50% of that added on.
Right.
But in stoppage time, when somebody time wastes or there's a sub or whatever, 100% of that is getting added back on. And it shouldn't be any different. Mm-hmm. And that's why you get those instances, Mike, where it's like a 5-minute stoppage time, but they add an extra minute because there actually was a full minute lost because of a sub or whatever. And he adds 100% of it back. But that shouldn't happen.
Let me give you a counter to this now, because I agree with everything we're saying here on the Twitch pitch, and I agree with the notion that you need to add every second back on for time wasting. The counter to that, though,
every second, I'll quibble on that every second. Go ahead, sorry.
Okay, but if that's going to be the argument, then the counter to that is the referee needs to blow, even if it's in the middle of if a team is in the midst of an attack, the ref needs to blow at 90.
And that's why we're going to go. That's why I'm not an every second guy.
Right. So now think about this, okay? Because Jason, I tend to agree with you that I don't think every single second is precious.
Yeah.
But if we're going to take the argument that every single second counts, then refs need to blow at 90 no matter what is going on with the game.
Yeah, I don't want
If
that.
there is a long diagonal that's being played or a cross is in the air and that watch tells you 90,
Boom.
you blow no matter what. So now think about that. Is that what we want to see the game become? I don't.
No,
I don't want to see that. I think the referee needs to be given, within reason, the leeway to have a general feel for we've played enough time, and it not have to be Swiss time to the
glad you
actual
said that.
second.
I'm glad you said that. Just to in case you're coming in a little bit late and you're like, what in the blue hell are these guys talking about? It's making the rounds everywhere, and Nico Cantor correctly points out that it's maybe being twisted into a million different directions. There has not been any mandate from FIFA that they're going to play 10 minutes of stoppage time in every World Cup game. There is an article that's being cited to Corriere dello Sport that FIFA wants to increase the amount of effective playing time in matches. They got to get the green light from IFAB. Nico hasn't actually found this article in Corriere dello Sport, by the way. So it could be one of those that, oh, no, this place said it. Oh, no, this place said it, whatever. It is a valid discussion, and we've had it before for a while. So that's why we're continuing on and actually getting into problem solving with it. What I would do, and what you said just a second ago, Mike, is so important in that I don't need every second. I need a much better estimation of how much time is being lost. What I would do is, and it could be the fourth because the VAR has got a very specific job. The AVAR has a fairly specific job on the technicalities of getting angles and certain things, and they're watching a lot of the offside specifically. Okay, if it's too much for them to do, that's fine. The fourth is where I would go with it. Give this job to them. They can clock, and they're not going to be perfect with it because they got to deal with coaches screaming at them sometimes too. But they can clock, and they can, in about the 86th, 87th, 88th, depending on where there's a time, they can have the conversation because now you got fourth and the center referee on headsets in all high-level games. They can have the conversation. Hey, I've clocked it. I got 7 minutes of time lost because of X, Y, and Z. And tell the ref, and the ref can be like, you know what? I think that's a little high. The game feels like 5. Mm-hmm. And they'll still say it's not clocked that we're going to play 7:15 in addition, but it's a more accurate estimation from somebody else, not the center. But the center makes the final decision, just like you would with VAR, where the VAR can recommend and can say, hey, go take a look and do this. The center is the one who lives and dies with it. Same thing here. Just give the center more accurate information.
Yeah.
Tell them, hey, you lost 8 minutes in that. Like, I'm going to add 6. Cool.
And I think the other thing, too, is like there can be a general standard for what justifies stopping the clock. Ball played out for a corner, to me, does not justify stopping the clock.
No.
Shot that goes over the crossbar does not, to me, justify stopping the clock.
You're in legitimate game action. With
right.
Philadelphia having a player sit down when he's going to be substituted, that can stop the clock.
That's it. Yeah. No, but for real, substitution, stop the clock. And I think it's generally accepted that time is stopped. Yeah. But make it a standard. Substitutions, bookings, melees, injuries, obvious time wasting. And I think, again, like, IFAB or FIFA or Pro or, whoever oversees the referees in a given league or confederation can kind of take the lead and produce video examples of obvious time wasting. I think if you have that standard, and like you said, Jason and John, you put it on the fourth official to keep the time lost when those standards are hit. Water break would be another one.
Yeah.
You can come pretty close to accurate. And to be honest with you, I think what we would find is that the way they're doing it right now is pretty close.
I think I don't think it is, actually.
I think the obvious time wasting has become a little bit too far open to interpretation, and some referees are better than others at putting the time back on.
Yeah.
So, like that's where I would agree with you, Jason. Like, I think however they can implement some kind of uniform standard on that. And look, I mean, maybe the AVAR, the fourth, and the center ref kind of work as a jury on that, and best 2 out of 3 determine, okay, what's that obvious time wasting or not? I don't know. And that might slow the game down too, or muck up the communications. I don't know. But there's got to be a way where we can be a little more uniform in dealing with the unsportsmanlike time wasting.
Yeah.
I don't even want to say obvious. I've been saying obvious time wasting. That's wrong because it's not obvious to everyone. But unsportsmanlike time wasting is obvious to everyone.
It's feel. I mean, and it's like we've talked about with the offside law and how that is. There's trials going on. We know one league that's doing it, the U18 league in Italy, where they're flipping it. Right now, if any part of your body is offside, you're offside. They're flipping it to if any part of your body is onside, you're onside. And they're going to see what that does to the games and the effect. Because now it's not eyeballing it by an AR and the referee deciding if they trust them or not. You can actually freeze frame it, and you can see offside, onside. And we've gotten away a little bit from the advantage goes to the attacker mentality, and we can see it's on or it's off, period. And I think now we have the means to, you can sit there and you can clock it and you can say how much time. But then we get to the feel of what we want the game to be. And I think one thing that a lot of people said on the Twitch pitch, and I thoroughly agree with, is we kind of want the game to be 2 hours. It's 90 minutes. You've got your halftime break. You've got additional time on it. Sometimes the halftime break goes an extra minute, whatever, because team wants to yell in the locker room. All those things are fine. It's about a 2-hour block. We don't want it to do what we've seen in the NFL, where you're playing about 15 minutes of actual time. The game would take 3 hours, and now it's taking 3.5 to 4.
Right.
We want it to stay kind of in that 2-hour block, but we want to get as much time back that gets wasted. It's a balancing act, and it is a discussion that I hope IFAB and FIFA are having, but I don't want to see a mandated 10 minutes of stoppage time either, because not every game needs that.
Right.
There just needs to be a more accurate depiction of it, and hopefully they'll find a way. We'll see where this goes.
Interesting discussion.
Yeah, it is. I mean, people have said do it like we see in high school and in college, where the scoreboard is the clock and it's stopped by the referee and they can make a big show of it. Yeah, you have a bunch of games in doing, games that are played under IFAB rules that you don't have that. You might have the mechanism to be able to do that. And you have to create a system that can work for that too. You have to have different competition rules. There's not a right and a wrong here, but it is an evolution as the game has evolved. And we'll see where it continues to go. It could be an evolution for Atlanta United with their starting lineup in Charlotte. We'll talk more about this on stoppage time at 2:00, Mike. There was a question, I believe it was from Thomas or Jason Nix, wanting to know your DEFCON level on the Joseph news.
Yeah, maybe I'm reading too much into what Darren said yesterday. I don't think I'm quite as concerned now as I was on Monday, because Darren gave the update that Joseph felt good in D.C. That, according to Darren, there was no issue in D.C., that the discomfort occurred when Joseph was on international duty. And I know someone had asked, well, then why'd they play him if he was feeling discomfort with Venezuela? Well, Joseph told them Saturday he felt good enough to play.
Exactly.
So now what I don't know is, was this trip to Pittsburgh arranged before Saturday's match? If that's the case, that makes me feel even better than what it could be. If it's something where they decided after the DC match, hey, let's send him up to Pittsburgh, that concerns me a little bit more, because that would indicate to me that maybe even though he felt better, he didn't feel 100%. So Darren kind of put me at ease. The reason why I'm still a little bit concerned is, why are we not going to know anything until Thursday? How long does it take to examine a knee? What exactly is Joseph having in terms of testing up there? that seems odd that it would take 4 days to produce an answer. So I don't know. I don't think Joseph's going to play on Sunday. And
I'm not expecting that.
The reason why I say that is because it just hasn't been able to train this week.
Yeah.
They took a day off yesterday. They're training today. Sounds
They
like
worked in the gym yesterday. They were not
yesterday. You're right.
Yeah. They were doing some work, but not on the field because they were dodging lightning bolts.
Same today, probably.
Yeah, no, they're
dodging lightning bolts.
They're out there now.
Yeah, they're gonna train in the rain. It was lightning yesterday.
Yeah, it was scary yesterday. So I don't think Joseph's going to play this weekend. And Darren had even said on the radio yesterday, Dwyer, Cisneros, Conway, all going to be in the mix for Sunday.
Yeah.
We'll get a real hint on Saturday. I would assume we're not going to see Jackson playing for the twos on Saturday night.
Unless Conway and Cisneros. I mean, I don't know if you take all three. I would.
No, well, you're definitely taking Dwyer. I don't know about Cisneros. I mean, it sounds like Cisneros just started training a day or two ago. So
that's fine. He's been playing though. I mean, he's been playing regularly. There's no fitness issue. It's an opportunity. I don't think we can take like normal. You want to get the guy like time to blend with the team and all this. It's like, well, we got an opening.
Right.
Compete. Let's see who wins it. And if Conway doesn't, if he's not going to start, I hope he's in Kennesaw because I want him to play and not just make the trip and sit the bench. And I don't know if he's going to be dressed as an Egyptian on the bench or not.
Yeah, what was that about?
I have no idea. I was wondering.
Is that like standard new guy? Hey, you have to.
He's not the new guy, John.
I don't know what that was about.
Birthday or
no
event or
clearly lost some kind of bet.
Yeah, Jackson had. If you follow the guys on Instagram and you're wondering what we're talking about, there were a lot of pictures of Jackson in an interesting outfit at the training ground.
Roman gladiator kind of thing.
Highly entertaining.
So here's the thing. Like, I feel a little bit more at ease now than I did on Monday. I worry anytime I hear this player is leaving town to get an examination.
Yeah.
A
far away facility, yes.
In any sport. Like when you hear this player is going to see Dr. James Andrews, that is generally not to get good news.
No.
Yeah, this is different.
Yeah, it's now sounding like maybe this was more on the precautionary side, maybe. And I hope that's the case. What worries me is Joseph has spoken publicly about how he has thought about retirement. And I just hope that whatever news he gets this week is not going to push him in that direction. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, to be clear, when he talked about that, he was playing and he was reflecting back on the numerous complications he had with the initial surgery and follow-ups that were done at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. Freddie Fu, who was the surgeon, Freddie Fu, he passed away in September, sadly. His team, I'm assuming, will be taking the lead on this. He worked with for years. He was the one, if you go back, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic had a knee issue earlier in his career that was never quite fixed right. And then he hurt it again at Manchester United in 2016, 17, somewhere in that ballpark. And the talk was, he's done. Career's done. Forget it. It's over. And he went and he had surgery with Freddie Fu and came back and then came to MLS. And now he's still playing at 40 with Milan. So that he's the surgeon and his team have had incredible successes. This one is just a weird one because he's had so many follow-ups, and to the point that during all of that, he thought, yeah, I might not come back. I might be done. That definitely scares you because if it's another issue, it's like, okay, this is going to be really difficult for him mentally. And I understand that. The thing that throws me on this, Mike, is that go back to before the international break. He played 90 in Colorado. He played 90 against Charlotte. He played 90 against Montreal. I thought he looked the best against Montreal.
I agree.
I thought he looked quick. The goal is a classic Joseph goal. He didn't look like he was completely worn out at the end. he played 270 minutes in 3 weeks and then went to Venezuela to train a day or two. I can't remember how the exact timeline worked, but they played their first game on the Friday of the break in Buenos Aires. And he started and he went into the second half, which is typical during his time with Venezuela. So alarm bells didn't go off for me that he subbed out in the 62nd minute or so. He had a good chance, nearly scored a goal. He didn't play in the second leg, and it wasn't or the second game against Colombia. It wasn't alarm bells, but I was a little surprised. But again, he doesn't start every game for Colombia or for Venezuela. He rotates around with Solomon Rondon and others. All right. And then he came back and he started and he came out in the second half. And that was where I was surprised because it's scoreless at that point, even with the travel, but he didn't play on the Tuesday. That's where I was surprised that, okay, wait a minute. And then the follow-up of now he wants to get looked at, but where the discomfort happened and how it went down and all of that is a little hard to follow. It's I'm concerned, but I'm not. Which one? Which is DEFCON 1 or 5 the bad one?
1.
1 is bad. I'm not DEFCON 1 or 2. I guess it'd be 3.
Yeah.
Just because it's the same knee and just because, man, it was really serious last time. And it was complicated last time, I guess, is the best way that would make me a 3.
Yeah, I'm probably even higher than that, probably a 4.
Okay.
I Darren really put me at ease yesterday. And one other comment on the Twitch pitch that I wanted to address from Byrne, because Darren did bring this up in his interview yesterday. They're not going to bring in a midfielder before this summer, according to what Darren was saying.
Right, and I don't think they need to.
No, and he pointed to, look, we've got Sosa, we have a bar, and we're going to have Heinemann pretty soon.
Yeah.
So, makes sense. So I don't think that's a concern. But, yeah, I mean, with Joseph, we'll wait until Thursday. Look, I mean, there's nothing we can do about it, right? I mean, I don't want to sit here for the next 48 hours and stress over Joseph Martinez. I will say this. God forbid it is a worst-case scenario. Atlanta United is far better positioned to deal with that this year than they were going through the pandemic. That's really, I think, very, very vital to understand. You know, you had Adam John, and you had to bring in J.J. Williams, and you had to bring in Kubo Torres during a pandemic where everything was weird in 2020. This time you have a lot more cover at center forward with Dwyer, with Cisneros, and with Conway. So it would be significant, but I don't think it would end the season as perhaps it did in 2020. So just keep that. And I don't think this is the case. I think Joseph's probably going to be okay. I don't think he's going to play this weekend.
Yeah, I would not. I think at a minimum, if he's having discomfort, you give him a week off.
It's just for precautions.
Yeah.
For precautionary. I mean, look, I would actually be concerned if they did play him this weekend. I mean, that would tell me maybe you're pushing it a little too much.
Yeah.
So you're not going to have him this weekend, but you can beat Charlotte without him, I think.
I think the other thing that puts you in a better position, and we'll save plenty more for stoppage time this afternoon, and Jessica Charman and Will Pelagic will join us on stoppage time as well to talk about Charlotte. The other thing about it in terms of being positioned to deal with it, you're never positioned to deal with losing your striker. It's just it's a cap league. You don't have a starting striker on the bench very often. That's a problem. But you have other goal scorers in this team beyond the forward position that you didn't have in 2020. You've got Araujo, you've got Almada, you've got Moreno, who are going to get their share of goals with or without Joseph. So you're in a position where just beyond the actual position on the field, I think you're better positioned with a roster build to deal with these issues. You went too deep everywhere. You've got depth at forward. You've got to decide on who gets the spot. Cisneros coming in at the right time. That door just magically opened for him. And we'll see if he can take advantage. Dwyer, magically opened for him, potentially. We'll see if he can take advantage. Conway, he's been waiting for the door to open. Can he take advantage? They're all going to get a chance, but they're going to have more support than Adam John and J.J. Williams and Kubo Torres had in 2020.
Absolutely.
With that attacking team and with that midfield that's got a ton of depth already with the
they're
going to have.
in 2020, how many matches did Atlanta United play with 0 designated players? A lot.
Quite a few. Yeah.
Quite a few. I mean, that's not going to be, hopefully, not going to be a problem this year with Almada and Aruju. I hope Aruju is getting closer.
Yeah, I get the sense that he is very close, but
yeah,
that
didn't
doesn't
get a whole lot.
week.
Didn't get a whole lot from Darren on that yesterday. We
Yeah.
were trying, but obviously we see the quality of Almada, and then you have Moreno, who's a designated player, level player in the attack, who's just not making a DP salary. So yeah, I agree with ATL Pilgrim. I think you've just got a more full squad this year than you did in 2020 when you were having to bring in like Manuel Castro and Jurgen Damm and Eric Lopez. And then even when you brought Lopez in, the roster rules worked against you and you couldn't get him in. Like, it's a different situation now. You're a lot better equipped. So I don't expect that we're going to find out like, Joseph's going to be out for 3 months or worse. But if you do, this is not going to be 2020. I really, really strongly believe that.
Yeah. I think the team's just built different, and they're going to have more options to find goals in other places. We'll see. Hopefully that's not the issue. I would definitely slow down on some of the speculation on the Twitch pitch about procedures that are being done with this visit, because there was no talk about any procedures being done.
It's an examination, and honestly, some of the procedures that are being talked about on the Twitch pitch can be done very easily here in Atlanta. So and one other thing too, and I don't think it was anyone who listens to this show, but let's cool it on the whole kill the training staff.
Oh my goodness.
Because that is just absolutely ridiculous. And let's cool it on the whole, you got to rip the turf out because all these injuries are happening on turf. Osvaldo Alonso has his knee planted and someone collides into it and he tears his ACL. Football accident. It's
on grass.
On grass. It's absolutely awful for Ozzy Alonso. It's terrible. It is a football accident. You know, again, on grass Saturday.
Joseph, 2020.
Yeah, on grass. On absolutely on grass.
Could have happened anywhere. Fluke.
You know, look at what happened to Josetu. You know, again, on grass.
It's a hamstring.
You pull up, it's a hamstring. Hamstrings are tricky. Let's just cool it a little bit on, well, this happens year after year after year to us and no one else. How many guys out did Seattle have last year due to injury?
Like he is 12 at one point.
Right. Montreal and Real Salt Lake had 9 players each out due to injury on Saturday. It's soccer. These things do happen.
The ACLs are complete flukes. That has nothing to do with the training staff. And Atlanta's had bad luck with that. To have an ACL 3 years in a row, that's bad luck. That doesn't happen typically, but that's not a training staff thing.
And I'm going to tell you guys the same thing I said on Twitter the other day. Every time this happens, and unfortunately it's happened a lot in this city, the Atlanta Falcons had a spate of injuries in 2017 that made me think someone was poking a voodoo doll. It was ridiculous. And, look, you don't have to believe me, but I talked to players who were on that team and people who used to play for that team. And I asked them, is this on the training staff? Is something being done incorrectly? Because how else do you explain these injuries? Every single person I talked to said it's bad luck, and it happens everywhere. And I have to assume it's the same case here. It is bad luck, and it does happen everywhere. If you heard players openly talk about overtraining and muscle injuries that are happening as a result of overtraining, which quite frankly may have been the case at a time last year under a previous coach, we might be having a different discussion.
You didn't even have it then.
No, not really.
Not really. And people tried to put the Hindman injury on that, and that's one of the more ridiculous takes I've ever seen on the Bird app because it's an ACL. It has nothing to do with training time.
Yeah, right. I mean, yes. An ACL is a ligament injury that usually occurs because of contact or an accident that occurs with non-contact. It has nothing to do with the physical act of training or running. So, look, I think I would like to see that narrative go away ASAP because it's just completely inaccurate and it's absolutely unfair. And Bart is 100% right. Thank you, Bart, for this on the Twitch pitch. This has been happening globally since the pandemic. You know why? Because we've played about 2 years worth of matches in 16 months. So everyone has been doing more and putting more strain on their bodies, and you're seeing the results of this globally. So let's cool it with the whole blame the training staff, because I don't agree with that at all.
No, I don't either. With you totally. We will talk about Charlotte. We'll talk about what Darren Eales revealed about Brad Gazan actually restructuring his contract to help with the salary cap. We'll get into the details of what that could allow you to do coming into this season. We'll talk about all of that today on Stoppage Time at 2:00, right?
Yes, and like you said, Will and Jess will be with us as well. And we get to recap World Cup qualifying, because we haven't been able to do that yet on Stoppage Time. So
we will do some of that, and I will talk trash to Jess preemptively, because U.S. and England play in, what, about 7 months?
Well,
might as well
start it now, right? Start it now.
Of course. Yes. Thanks, Mike.
See you guys.
Be good.
Make sure you're following Mike Conti 929 on the Twitters. Yeah, the training staff thing is absurd, and just stop, please. It just stop. There's really nothing else that hasn't already been said. Mike nailed it perfectly in how these things happen, and it doesn't matter who they've happened to. You sometimes have bad luck, and you sometimes have these issues. And everybody has injuries, and everybody has muscle injuries. And honestly, I think more teams in the league have had more muscle injuries than Atlanta United. ACL's a completely different thing. That has nothing to do with this conversation at all. And, the way that the three happened for Atlanta United, I don't know if the Heinemann one happened when they were training on grass or on the turf field. I do not know. But it had nothing to do with turf. It had nothing to do with overtraining. That's not the case. And don't give me the but no, because nobody knows. It's an ACL. There's no overtraining that would have led to that. But he was tired, and it led to him. You don't know that. So stop. Stop trying to make up something to fit a narrative that you want to believe or follow, or some anonymous account said on the Bird app and you believe is the gospel for some reason. Why do you think we get strung out about anonymous accounts and narratives and all this? Because of this stuff. Because then it leads to people who are very good at what they do and put in more work than you would ever know. It leads to them getting slandered professionally by people who have no clue what they do. And that's not cool. That's not cool. I watched it happen to people in the digital staff. And I talked to people about how it affected them personally when people, without knowing any of the background, any of the information, and in some case, some people just not even caring and being horrible to these folks. Yeah, it affects you. It affects you. So make sure you got the information. Make sure you know what you're talking about if you're going to take that strong opinion. When we take strong opinions on the show, it's not just willy-nilly taking a hot take because we want to get clips somewhere on social media or get the buzz going. Yeah, that's right. Good point, Tesco. The Breck had an ACL, so it's 4 years in a row that Atlanta's had an ACL. That was in Seattle. No, it was not purely because of turf. That was actually, I think somebody fell on him, if I remember right, as he was running back. I don't think it was a complete non-contact one. No, okay. Walchara, no, no, buddy. You like to do this thing that basically don't have an opinion. Walchara says narratives down here in full effect. No, make sure you have an educated opinion, please. If you're going to call people out for what they have to say, or you're going to craft a narrative, make sure you have the information to back it up. An opinion needs to have something behind it, or it is hot air. Like we saw what happened with Matt Turner in that whole situation. Many other things. Didn't say don't have an opinion. I'm challenging you, and yes, you and many others and whatever alter egos are out there. I'm challenging you to make sure you think about your opinions. You can not pay attention to the show if you want to. That's completely cool because I think I've actually been said the opposite, that sometimes I have too strong opinions about certain things. But anyway, do your things, craft those narratives down here, have fun with it. We're going to move on because it's not worth discussing this ridiculousness. CONMEBOL, Copa Libertadores, Copa Sudamericana, some storylines from yesterday. Colón de Santa Fe beat Peñarol. Fun game if you had a chance to watch some of this. Pulga Rodriguez, one of my favorites. I got a strong opinion about Pulga Rodriguez, I'll tell you that much. He opened the scoring, and 19-year-old Facundo Farias, who I also have a strong opinion about. He is one of the best young strikers in Argentina right now, 19 years old. He had the winner in the 90th minute. Boca's already talking about him. Smaller club Colón. He's one that if you're an MLS team and you're looking for a young striker, he's 19. You're looking for a young striker to invest in, and you want to take a chance. Look, he's 19. He might not pan out. He's one you can take a chance on, I think. Facundo Farias, remember the name. Corinthians of Brazil, they were on the road. They're in Bolivia. That can be a problem. It was. Club always ready. They were always ready, yes. They were ready to start the second half, a goal like 30 seconds in. They win 2-0. That was a surprising result. Surprising result for Boca. They went to Colombia, lost 2-0 to Deportivo Cali. I saw some of that. They did not look great. Deportivo Cali looked like the better team. Flamengo and Sporting Cristal did get played. Empty stadium, no fans. 1-0 to Flamengo. I think it was delayed for a later kick, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Bunch of Libertadores games tonight. Sudamericana, a couple of the storylines. Bonfield won 1-0 at home over Santos. That's a great win for Bonfield. Eric Lopez was on the bench for them in that one. Ceará of Brazil hosting Independiente. Independiente had a 11th minute second yellow, so they lose a player in the 11th. They take the lead late in the first half, and then Ceará scored 2. They win 2-1. They also had a red card. They finished with 10. Classic Copa Sudamericana stuff. And the craziest one of the night was Everton of Chile hosting Jorge Wilstermann of Bolivia, a club we've talked about before. Adam Brandon, who is a great follow for stuff on the Chilean game. Jorge Wilstermann, we talked about them last year on Soccer Over There. They're named after an aviator, a pilot in Bolivia. I think he was maybe the first in Bolivia. Well, they couldn't travel to their game in Chile initially because the plane they booked was restricted to domestic flights. They didn't have the papers in order to fly outside Bolivia. That delayed them getting their tests when they arrived in Chile. They arrived on the day of the game. That's against CONMEBOL protocols. Then you get to the actual game. Everton had 4 goals disallowed.
God.
2 of them were bad. One of them was for an offside that was nowhere near an offside. I don't know. Jorge Wilstermann should be in trouble for arriving late, and the referees should be in trouble for having a shocker, but that's that one. You got 5 more games in the Copa Sudamericana tonight. Last night, CONCACAF Champions League, Pumas 2-1 over Cruz Azul. That late goal for Cruz Azul is a big one, though, 83rd minute. That makes it tight going into the second leg. Cruz Azul probably likes where they are going into that second leg because of that 83rd minute goal. Tonight, late, Seattle hosting NYC, first leg of the All-MLS semifinal. And the poster that Seattle did for this online is epic, where they are throwing all kinds of shade at NYC's choice of home venue for this because they can't use Yankee Stadium. It's at Red Bull Arena. It's in New Jersey. It's a very funny poster. And if you're a Seattle Sounders fan, you've probably purchased it or got it printed and will have it framed and put up on your wall, and you will laugh at it from here to eternity. Other news and rumor and innuendo. In the Netherlands, Ronald Koeman is going to take over from Louis van Gaal after the World Cup. That is already set up. So Van Gaal's contract was through the World Cup at the end of the year. Van Gaal also announced, if you have not seen over the weekend, that he is receiving treatment for an aggressive form of prostate cancer. I believe the Dutch FA wanted to get this done in case Van Gaal is not able to take the team to the World Cup. He is striving to take the team to the World Cup. And I know everybody in the Netherlands and everybody in the game around the world, you can like or not like Louis Van Gaal's tactics, mannerisms, whatever. He is one of the most intelligent coaches who's worked in the game. And at times, positional play, his got a little rigid. Not really my interpretation of it that I've enjoyed as much, but the way he has created things in the game and what he's done in the game, he's one of the greats. He's absolutely one of the greats, and it's horrible that this is happening to him. I know the Dutch national team would love to have a great send-off for him at this World Cup because he came out of retirement to take the team when Koeman went to the Barcelona job and Frank de Boer took over. And then Frank had that game in the Euros where didn't he have a red card in the first half, if I remember right? And the Czech Republic ended up winning narrowly after a good group stage. So they run Frank out. Van Gaal takes over on short term after retiring, but kind of talking a lot like he didn't really necessarily want to retire. He comes back into it, and now this happens to him. But they have the next one in line. So the Dutch FA, I think, is in a much better place now with all of that. Rumor and innuendo, Paul Pogba, an offer has been made by PSG as he's late in the final months of his Manchester United contract. Reportedly, PSG have offered less money than United. Whatever. Reportedly, Pogba's camp are waiting to see what Juventus can do because it seems like that's where he wants to go, but I can't see them offering more money than either one. So you're back into limbo with Paul Pogba. That's been a great place for Manchester United over the last few years. Real Madrid, according to reports, are still confident in getting Kylian Mbappe, even though there's reports saying that he's agreed to a new deal to stay in Paris. Okay, you gotta talk, I guess. Harry Kane, he'll listen to an offer from Manchester United, according to reports, and then he wants to hear that offer before making a decision on his long-term future. Back to Harry Kane drama again, I guess.
Oh,
Robert Lewandowski, according to Sport in Barcelona want to sign him to a 3-year deal. That's been gathering steam here lately, is Lewandowski to Barcelona. I'm intrigued. I want to see what that could look like. Newcastle reportedly open to selling Alan Saint-Maximin in the summer, 25 years old. I would imagine he would go for a nice chunk of change. I'm a little surprised they'd be open to selling him unless it's one of those, hey, if somebody's going to offer some crazy amount, then we'll do it. Manchester United interim manager Ralf Rangnick has been approached to become the new manager of the Austrian national team, according to reports. Previous manager stepped down after they were knocked out in the playoff rounds to get to the World Cup. And last one, Newcastle lately, this morning or last night, made an attempt to try to get Divock Origi, who is out of contract at Liverpool. They offered a higher salary than Milan, but Origi remains firm on going to Milan. That's where he wants to go. Matteo Moretto reported that this morning on Twitter. So Newcastle made a play, couldn't pull it off. Origi looks like he is set for Nick Alifi's beloved Milan.
Yeah, Newcastle, the number that we had seen floated around that they were only going to have, 90 million available in purchases for players to improve the side that Eddie Howe currently has. Obviously, if you can sell Alan Saint-Maximin on, possibly sell Miguel Almiron on, that gives you more for the coffers than that original 90 million that was put on the table to try to help improve things heading into the first full season next year of having your ownership group.
Yeah, I mean, I get Miguel Almiron because they don't seem to rate him. Eddie Howe doesn't. And you can argue yay or nay on that. Miguel hasn't had the greatest performances to turn that around either. So, okay, I get that one. Saint-Maximin, I don't know if I'd be willing to sell unless it is an absurd amount of money. And maybe you're floating that out there to see if you can get the absurd.
Yeah, that's what I was.
That gets played sometimes.
And that's what I was gonna suggest. It's like, what if you just put a name out there to see what the response is, and if someone gives you that number that you have tucked away in a notebook someplace, it's like, Yeah, I think that obscene number, we'll go ahead and work on that. So I think that it might just be floating him out there just to see what the response may be. And if it turns into a bidding war amongst folks, then more power to you. You've driven up the price and you've gotten what you were possibly looking for and even more from that, just idea.
No. What I'm saying is I don't think they really want to sell. I don't think they're wanting to get something. I think they're basically putting it out there that, like, yeah, we'd be open. And if somebody comes in with a stupid amount of money, then they don't want to sell, but they'll sell.
Yes.
I don't think they're trying to create a bidding war. I think that it's basically like, hey, you want to make an offer? We'll listen, but we're not interested really, is where I'm at with it. We'll see. It's Brett hanging out in the Twitch pitch. What's up? It's Brett. Hopefully you're doing well. If you're looking for watch-alongs for games, It's Brett is one of the best ones out there on Twitch. Make sure you are checking in with his schedule to see what he's up to and what games he's got. A couple of things to clean up on the Twitch pitch, and I'm sure you've got a few questions from before, John. Burned. I didn't say the reports I saw, and I was clear about this because I saw what you saw. I didn't say just a minute ago that Rangnick was interviewed by the Austrian FA. I said there was interest, and I think you're right. He's too expensive, so there's interest, but it hasn't progressed. Burned says that the Austrian FA reportedly interviewed one of his assistants, not Chris Armas, but they haven't interviewed Ralph Rangnick. I didn't see any strong indications that they had interviewed him. I didn't say that, but I think they had some interest. But if you can't get the deal done, it's too expensive, then that interest isn't going to go very far. Like I said, I wish I had a Ferrari. I have interest in a Ferrari.
Yeah.
I'm not getting very far in acquiring said Ferrari because it's going to be too expensive for me. That's where I'm at. Question from Modaflow: is Phil Foden the most un-English English player in the game right now, or is he the definition of the English game and where it currently stands? He's definitely not the latter. He's not the definition of the English game. I do think the English game wants to be more like what we're seeing with Phil Foden and Jack Grealish and those kinds of, they've had them before, but they were more of a unicorn in the past. Like Paul Gascoigne looked completely out of place in an English team, an English national team. You go back to that 1990 England team, and you're looking at, and this is just to make sure that I'm informed about what I'm talking about, since people want to create narratives. Paul Gascoigne in 1990. What's the number one thing you think about from that tournament for England? It was, Pierce with the bloody head wrap, surviving one game. And that him looking like, I think he started getting the nickname Psycho because of that, because he looked insane, because he's got blood all over his face and a head wrap that is somewhat trying to keep the blood from going places that it shouldn't go. It didn't work very well. You think about that. You think about that team with Gary Lineker. You think about Peter Shilton. You think about classic English players, Batty, David Platt. You think about those guys, and then Paul Gascoigne is pulling nutmegs and he's pulling moves, and it's like, where'd this guy come from? He's like a street baller. Kevin Keegan was kind of that back in the day. You've had those guys that have been the unicorns in the England squad. You're getting more of them now. And I do think it is the international influence on the Premier League. I think when you're getting the kinds of players that you have, that now, instead of following purely English players who are playing for the biggest English clubs who play in a very English way, led by English coaches, you're getting a celebration of these kinds of players. You're getting Champions League every few weeks too. So you're seeing Messi, you're seeing Ronaldinho, you're seeing those guys that you didn't really see much before. So there's more of an influence of the video that I shared in the Discord that Luis Miguel Echegaray of CBS Sports shared of Phil Foden, on the street with a size half soccer ball, continually embarrassing one of his buddies and putting it between his legs. Like, you're getting that kind of stuff. So the influences have changed. I think Phil Foden is a very un-English kind of player right now, but I think there will be more Phil Fodens than ever before in the upcoming generations, because I think the definitions of what's good and what's not good in England are changing and changing really rapidly and changing for the good. I think more diverse ways of looking at the game is definitely a good thing. And at times, England, and they're not the only ones. They are absolutely not the only ones. They're the most common to us in the U.S. because of the shared language and just the accessibility of talk about English teams in the Premier League and all of that. And that's why we pick on them. That's why I pick on them. John doesn't. He loves England. I pick on them. That's why I pick on them, because at times they're very insular in how they look at the game. It's changing. It is. It's better than it was, and it'll continue to get better. It's the reason I pick on it is I want to see the United States game. I try not to use the word American in that situation, because the Americas are more than just the United States. The game in the USA has been very insular at times, and it still is too insular. It's still, when we get into conversations about TV ratings, it's like we have to get to the third paragraph before Liga MX comes up, or what the game on 2-Day NA drew, when last time I checked, that's being watched in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same country. And that's important. The game has to be more diverse in this country too. So when I pick on it needing to be more diverse in England, which it still needs to, diversity of thought is a big way. Diversity of style is a big thing that needs to change there. It needs to change here too. It 100% needs to change here. It's getting better. It is, because again, you have more accessibility than ever before, but we can't put blinders on and say, this is the right way. Everybody else has got it wrong. Everybody else is doing substitutions wrong. They're using 5. We use 3. Rawr. Well, finally, that's going to change.
Finally.
VAR. We don't go to the monitor. We don't believe in going to the monitor. Well, then you go to the monitor and you see, yeah, I didn't see that because I was screened, and that's a foul. And let's get the call right. Let's not be insular. It'll benefit the game there. It'll benefit the next generations of players who say, I want to be like Phil Foden. And that to actually be encouraged, because I think in the past what's happened is you had players who came up and said, I want to be like Kevin Keegan. Kevin Keegan had to go overseas to really thrive. Paul Gascoigne left England. Money, but also, I think, being embraced. Like, now, a player like Phil Foden might not have to leave. One, he's playing for a manager who I think embraces him and has really done a great job in bringing him along and not putting too much on him too soon and managing his career really well. But Phil Foden will be more embraced in England. It doesn't happen consistently, though, and, I mean, we hear it all the time. If he tries to pull a trick and it doesn't come off, look, it's too many tricks. Rah, rah, rah. But it's getting better. So to go back in a long-winded answer, trying to make sure that you know it's informed, in my opinion, he is not the most un-English English player of all time. He might be the most un-English English player right now. He is not the definition of the English game right now. He is a little bit of an outlier, but not as much of an outlier as previous versions of Phil Foden. And he is hopefully more of a representation of the English game going forward. And you see more Phil Fodens and more kids who want to be like Phil Foden. That's what I hope we see. Just like I hope in this country now, we see a lot of kids who say, I want to be like Gio Reyna and what he did at the Estadio Azteca. I want to dribble and beat those players and pull that nutmeg, and then I want to finish it. I hope we see that rather than hoof it, pace and power. Yeah, I hope we see more of embracing the Fodens, the Reynas, those players. And I think we are. I think it's changing. You got a lot of people who don't want it to change. It'll take time.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at Phil Foden getting to learn under a Pep Guardiola for as long as he has, and the next guy that popped up into my head who's in that same train is a guy like Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer is in the Manchester United system, the Manchester City system, has been since his U9s, but he's 19, and he has been regarded as one of the more versatile players that is coming up through the Manchester City system, used as either a striker or an attacking midfielder. So you see Phil Foden.
He doesn't have a position?
I know. Strange.
Panic.
panic. And so you see a Phil Foden with his artistry. You see the promise that's attached to a Cole Palmer, both coming from Manchester City, and a non-English manager. Basically, yes. And so there's plenty of pearl clutching going on. But no, I mean, this is what happens. It's the world's game for a reason. And there's, you don't have to be so insular. You don't have to clutch your pearls, because we can all learn from a bunch of different places. But that's just me.
Yes. More questions on the Twitch pitch. Actually, hold on. First, Alex Bassine is very happy with all of my Paul Gascoigne love. Paul Gascoigne was, when I had dreams of being a player, Paul Gascoigne in 90 was somebody that I wanted to emulate. Absolutely. I loved his game. That English team, the run in that tournament was a blast. Keegan as well, absolutely. Another more Geordie love, but it's Gascoigne for me. That's always going to get that. There was a really good documentary on him that had interviews with him fairly recently. I can't remember if it was Netflix or Amazon Prime or who knows where it is now, but it's definitely a good watch, and you get I think more insight into him. Troubled guy. Troubled background, all of it, but an incredibly gifted footballer and an incredibly gifted player that didn't always fit in the English game at that point. And yeah, I wanted to be like Paul Gascoigne. Those are the players that have always grabbed my attention. I mean, I fell in love with the game through Maradona, so obviously those kinds of guys are the ones that are a little bit of the outliers. You wonder why we talk about a dribbler's union on this show. Well, when we're going back to those kind of touchstones, that's why. Those are the players that I get just excited about and get thrilled by, and that's what I love about the game. So, very cool. I do think the English game is modernized, Bernd. I totally agree with you. The media hasn't always caught up, though. Very cool. Very true. Not all the clubs have caught up either. It's not everywhere, but it's a lot better than it was. And you're getting more of the international influence, which is great. Brett, totally agree with you. And then it's media everywhere, but I think England especially, very quick to hype you up, very quick to hype something up, and then even quicker to knock it down. Totally agree. Hate that mentality, despise it, but it is accurate. Let's see. On this topic, let me make sure I didn't miss anybody. Modaflow says, I think Shearer was an un-English player for how boring he was considered. Well, I don't know. Shearer feels like the prototypical center forward. Lineker feels more un-English than Shearer to me. And Shearer's great. He's as good of a center forward as you're going to find. Lineker has always felt like a little more outside the box. Gary Lineker is a fascinating one, and when he does get on punditry, and we don't get to see it a whole lot in this country. I can't remember who he works. Is he BBC in England,
or was he Sky?
I don't know if he's Sky, because I think generally we'll see some of the Sky
BT.
stuff.
Sorry, BT. I think
which we don't see much of here. I've liked a lot of times things Lineker's had to say. I've mentioned it before, and again, it ties back to Diego Maradona, which everything ties back to Diego Maradona for me. You guys know that by now. The about an hour-long special that the BBC did with Lineker going to Buenos Aires and finding Diego and meeting with him, and this was Diego. I can't remember the year it was done. I want to say it was 06 or 07. It was after he had the stomach bands put on. He was actually in a good place with his addiction issues, and he was playing in a Legends like indoor game, which was crazy. And Lineker goes into this like kind of sketchy looking arena to meet with Diego. And I think Almeida played in that as well. I think you can see Matias Almeida in the background on that, which is funny. But Lineker goes and is supposed to meet with him for an interview the next day. And of course, Diego's like not there at first, and then he shows up later. But then they go to a Boca game, and it's just one of the more fascinating things that I've seen is Lineker, who has been everywhere and was a Golden Boot winner at a World Cup, and one of the legends of the game. And he walks into the Maradona suite at La Bombonera, and he's just blown away. One, because I mean it's just a really interesting, unique stadium because on that side where the suites are, it's like straight up. And just to hear the love, I mean, at Boca in 10 years after Maradona's retired, really more like 25 or so after he was good for them. And he was only really there for a year before leaving to go to Barcelona. They're singing songs about Diego the whole time, and everybody's going nuts reacting to Diego, and he's leaning out the booth, screaming and yelling and going nuts. And Lineker just like watching all this in awe. It's a really cool video. It's a really cool special. I highly recommend it. I like that Lineker will do some of those things outside the box. That's completely different than everything. BBC match of the day. Thank you, Alex. I thought he was a BBC guy. Okay, other questions that I've got, and if there's any older ones, John, we'll get those here in a second. Let me grab it from Burned. I really wonder where Tyler Adams will go in the summer and if he will leave Leipzig. Gets into a bigger conversation for the U.S. men's national teams. You got a bunch of guys in this. Adams might need a change of scenery. I don't disagree, Burned. I think what they want to do has changed. I don't think the coach there rates him like previous coaching staffs did. So Adams probably needs to go. He needs to play. He's essential for the U.S. men's national team in November. Christian Pulisic, essential for the U.S. men's national team in November. I think he's in a better position now than he was before when we've had this conversation. I don't think he has to force a move, but playing time is going to be a consideration for him. John Brooks needs to play. He's leaving Wolfsburg. We know that. Where does he go? Weston McKennie appears to be good. Don't think Max Allegri's going anywhere. Allegri has kind of fallen in love with Weston McKennie and what he brings to Juventus. I think Weston just get healthy and maybe he can factor in here at the end of the season. That has been talked about. He's recovering faster. That'd be awesome. But I think he's good in his club situation. Ricardo Pepi, I mean, you just got to perform. You got a lot of U.S. players in this. Adams is a player who is a perfect 6/8/double pivot for the kind of style that he has predominantly played in his career, the Red Bull pressing style. That limits where he's a good fit for. I don't know where that's going to end up. I do think he needs to change the scenery. I would agree that he needs to move, but where is the bigger question? And I just don't know if there's an easy answer to that. I don't. Dest is the other one I was trying to think of, who has been talked about with potentially moving, and he's been linked with moves out of Barcelona. It seems to go hot and cold on if he's going to stay, if he's not going to stay, what that looks like. But he's another one who's essential. I think everybody else on that list has a far longer list of suitors. It's not that Adams is a limited player, but I think the clubs that would be interested in him play a certain way. So where does he go? Maybe going to a more mid-table German team that will have pressing elements will be a good fit for him. He needs to play. I don't care about stature as much. He needs playing time. You want him sharp coming into the World Cup because, I mean, you're not going to easily replace any of your Reynas, your Pulisics, your McKennies, but I think Adams might be the hardest to replace of anybody. I think you can modify things with the others if you miss them. I think with Adams, if he's not good, you're going to be in much bigger problem if you're Greg Berhalter in the U.S. men's national team. But where does he go? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. Last one from me, John, before you jump in. Soccer for Good OG was asking about my jersey back here. It was a gift, first of all, from a friend of the show, Adam Beckman, Georgia Alliance, and also at Riverwood High School. And it is the alternate kit. The one I have is the alternate kit for Envigado FC, Envigado Football Club of Colombia, typically. And this one is not the representation of it. El Equipo Naranja, the orange team, or Cantera de Heroes, the Cantera of Heroes. They are at this stage in Colombia. They are 9th out of 20 in the first division. Very average year, 5-4-5 right now. But they do have an American player, Andres Jimenez, who was born in Miami. He's 22. He had a cap with the USU 20s. He is just starting to break into the Envigado first team. 22-year-old midfielder, born in Miami, playing in the Colombian First Division. Hey, MLS teams, if you're looking for a midfielder and you want somebody who won't take up an international slot, you might want to go get this young 22-year-old. And then maybe I'll get an Andres Jimenez Envigado shirt. Maybe I'll get it customized.
Yep, and I have the red version, which is hanging up on a hanger, trying to figure out how to best represent its location here and where it can hang. And
the jersey's trying to figure that out.
Yeah, the jersey's far more intelligent about trying to figure out logistics. Yeah. Going back to the discussion we were having about the adding of time being proposed, Michael Head actually wanted to know if there has been some uniform universal outrage over not enough time being added to matches.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's universal in that pretty much every game somebody complains about the amount of stoppage time being added, and it's hardly ever in the that's way too much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's talked about a lot. I really think it gets back to feel though, and where you want it to be and how you want it to go. I think we want games to be in about a 2-hour window. I don't think we want guaranteed 10 minutes of stoppage time, but where it should be 5 and it's 3, I want it to be 5. And if for some reason there's an incident, and generally when it's over 10, it's because of a bad injury or something that causes it. Okay. We know hydration breaks are going to add a good bit. Those typically are accounted for, but yeah, I'd like to see a more accurate take on time that is not being played that should have been played. And I think that's what it comes down to. It's not just, they wasted time. Okay. The game should have started 30 seconds earlier. It should have started a minute earlier because of whatever reason it didn't. Okay, add that back on. And let's try to be a little more accurate with that. And I think generally you're talking about adding an extra 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Most of the time, not all the time, but most. Okay. Just find a way to be more accurate with additional time. That's what I want. I don't need a set number. I don't need a dramatic change. I just want it to be a little more accurate. That's all.
Then Thomas Jewin was trying to remember an Atlanta United example. Was it the Montreal match last year that had the ref continuously pointing to his watch through minutes of time wasting and then still only added like 3?
Yeah, I mean, it's happened a few times. I do believe it could have been Montreal. That's something I always look for with referees when they're dealing with time-wasting situations is they point to their watch. Okay, I expect they've got it under wraps, and they're going to add a good bit of stoppage time. And when they only add 3, I'm probably yelling about that. So I know that's happened a few times. It could have been Montreal last year. I don't remember the specific game. I usually try to block it out once it's done because I don't want to give myself long-term headaches. But I do remember that happening last year at some point.
And Michael does bring up the point about the 2-hour timeline, one of the elements that attracts the newer generation. He'd hate to lose the tidiness of that 2-hour window because it is, frankly, it is the time span of your average movie. 2 hours, in, out, you're done.
Well, I don't think it's the time span of the average movie these days because that, I think, has crept up. And I don't think that the 2-hour time span attracts people straight away. I think when they get attracted because of the game, it's a big selling point for, hey, it's pretty much going to be 2 hours in and out. Good. Watch it on TV. It's going to be about 2 hours. Okay, good. I think it is a point that maybe keeps you hooked and makes it easier to stay hooked, but you don't choose to watch because of the time frame. You choose to watch because of the game, but it keeps you rather than baseball, which is a completely differently structured game. I think it's hard to compare. But baseball has just crept up and crept up and crept up and crept up in how long games go. And it feels like it's not double. It feels like it's double what it used to be. Mm-hmm. You talk about TV windows for baseball games. It used to be, I remember TBS doing 7:35 to 10. Mm-hmm. And that was giving you cushion because you had a lot of games that finished before 10.
Yes.
Now you can't do that. You've got to make the window 3 hours, and you probably aren't getting it in 3. It's such a huge change. You don't want to see it ever get like that, and it won't because it's, again, differently structured games. But I don't want to see it stretch to where the window of the game is going from 2 hours and you're getting it done in 2 hours with halftime in most situations to, all right, now we've got to say 2:30 because we're adding so much stoppage time or we're stopping the clock or whatever. We don't want that. I want to see two things. I want to see a more accurate representation of time that we should have been playing that we didn't, add it on. And I want to see referees or leagues, and it might be something that you do retroactively because I don't want to see people get sent off for time wasting all the time. That's how you're going to stop it. I would like to see the first step be more aggressive yellow cards given for accumulation purposes after games to where, yeah, it'll hit a suspension down the road. It'll hit it faster, and more aggressive fines for time wasting and purely for time wasting, not the dumb, like failing to leave the field in a reasonable manner kind of fine that it seems like the disco loves to hit. Like, go back. If we're going to go back and decide that Ezequiel Barco twice last year was simulating and he should be fined for that, all right, go back and say, well, this person wasted time and got away with it and to a degree affected how much of the game was played. We're going to fine them. That's more egregious to me. And Patrick Klimala grabbing his face when he wasn't hitting the face is more egregious than anything, but that's a whole different topic.
Yeah.
Like, disco should do that more. I want to see those two things go hand in hand.
Then you mentioned the times specifically. Jason Nix is wondering if MLSsoccer.com went back from announcing actual kickoff times. Last year, he thought they were putting the real times out there, and it looks like they may not be.
I don't know. They did last year, and I thought they were doing that this year because I've looked at it before and I've seen it. Yeah, it's still there. It's the exact same situation. It's Miami, New England. You click the game, it says 3:00, and it has KO 3:08 underneath it.
Okay,
it's the exact same as they did last year.
Burned with an Atlanta United question: when does the summer window open so they can attempt to trade for an Ozzie Alonso replacement?
I will tell you, the window's still open right now. First off, it's open through the first week of May, so you can make a trade right now if you want to. Actually don't have a bookmark, I don't think, but I've went to this page so many times that I have it up. Yes, transfer window calendar. I know the spreadsheet very well. Scroll down to United States, and on the men's side, closes right now May 4th, so you can make trades for about a month, and then it opens July 7 and closes August 4. That is for trades and for external additions. There you go.
A couple of light questions that I'll save to the end.
Okay.
Pilgrim with a comment talking about Atlanta United in general. The entire squad just feels fuller than it has in the past few years. Credit to Darren for setting up the depth in a much better way. Not mad trying out new talent and or an MLS veteran up front. It's much better than the emergency signing.
Yeah, I mean, you just have more depth. It doesn't mean you still don't make an addition because of things, but you have a very well-constructed team. And when you go back to 2020, look, you were at the end of the first 3-year cycle. That was where you had a bunch of guys that out of contract, wanting big raise in Julian Gressel's case. I think Leandro Gonzalez-Perez wanted a big raise. You got to make a lot of decisions all at once, and you have to be cap compliant. That was a year of great turnover because you started 3 years before. And generally you're looking at 3 years in, like, yeah, we don't have all that allocation money that we started with. We have guys who want new contracts. We're in a tough spot here. This is different. You were able to get through that, reload, reconstruct, and now you've got a team that coming into the season is too deep everywhere. And now I think you're still pretty good. The forward situation, look, we don't know what the deal is long-term with Joseph. Short-term, you're covered. Midfield, even losing Alonso long-term, you're covered, but now you've lost that veteran that you brought in. So can you go get another veteran? Maybe doesn't give you as much because that's going to be hard to replace. But can he give you some of what you lost with Ozzie Alonso and help Santi Sosa, who Hasn't been the starter because he's been recovering from off-season surgery, but I think was always intended to be the starter. So, okay. Sosa will need a little extra support at the 6. Go find that. If you can. You need to. It'd be good help. But you do have a Marcedich who can play there. You do have George Campbell who can play there. That's maybe the biggest change from last year is I think trusting George Campbell to play the 6 is a little bit higher up Gonzalo Pineda's list now. Okay, cool. But you'd probably like to have one more in that midfield. But you're getting Emerson Hyndman back too. Hosechu's a short-term injury. You've got covered for short-term injuries. You don't have to look at a replacement there. But if you can go get a veteran to help Santi Sosa, give him some time off from time to time, give you the opportunity to play a defensive double pivot with a veteran in there, yeah, you'd love to go find that. Those guys aren't easy to find. But you constructed the roster for a reason to have this kind of flexibility to where you don't have to panic when you have a player go down.
All right, the lighter stuff to finish that we have up here on the board.
What we got?
El Mataflo says he says, I'm sorry, SDH, but the best name in CONMEBOL is probably General Caballero.
Yeah, we've talked about them before. They are they playing today in CONMEBOL, by the way? I think you misread that. You said CONCACAF, right?
I said CONMEBOL.
Okay, you said CONMEBOL. Maybe I just heard you wrong. My bad. I'm not informed very well. General Caballero, they play Deportivo La Guiara today in the Sudamericana Group G. The Generals Club, they're from Paraguay. They are not sponsored by the Generals auto insurance. That would be cool if they were.
It would.
They won their last game at Sol de America in the Paraguayan League. Okay, we'll see how they do. I don't know how much experience they have in the CONMEBOL. They had to knock out Sol de America to get to this stage because Sudamericana, like you have teams from the same country who play down to get in. They whooped up on Sol de America. They own Sol de America, by the way. The General owns the sun is what it comes down to. 3-0 in the first leg, 2-1 in the second leg to get into the group stage in the Sudamericana, and then they beat him in the league for good measure. The General. We'll see how they do tonight.
In Champions League, question from Jason Nix.
Mm-hmm.
Who wore the overcoat better yesterday, Simeone or Pep?
I think generally Pep's got better style. I know this is the heavy hitting stuff, and definitely got to make sure that we do not just have hot takes on this. Pep Guardiola, I think, is more stylish because I believe his missus is somebody who takes style very seriously and makes sure that Pep doesn't go out and embarrass himself. Simeone does not go out and embarrass himself, but Simeone has a much more rigid, not a shock when you look at his tactics, much more rigid sense of touchline style. It is generally all black.
Yes.
At all times.
Mm-hmm.
Pep will go out there a little bit and he'll try some stuff. I like that. I give advantage Pep.
And the Atlanta United question, do we know the reason why Jackson Conway was dressed as an Egyptian warrior?
Were you not part of the show when Mike was with us and we talked about this?
I thought we were trying to figure out nationality, but not the reason why, because we were sitting, it looked like a Roman gladiator. And then
like the additional follow-up question we have any answers to? Do you know?
No.
Well, how am I supposed to know?
So I didn't know if there was if word had come out on the Twitters or the Bird app or anything like that as the rationale as to why.
Man, I've told you I'm trying to stay away from the Bird app as much as I can. I don't want that heartburn.
That's true.
So I don't know, and I believe that Abby had a thing on there, and I don't know if Abby had information or not that it was punishment for something or something that Jackson did. He showed up late or something or whatever. I think is what Abby had. I don't know if that is confirmed. I don't know if that is a good source. Sorry, Abby. I don't know for sure. And I believe it was Egyptian is the nationality that was decided upon on the Twitch pitch and from people in the know. So that's what I got. It was very funny. I know that much.
No question. But
yes, we covered about as much of that as we could have covered before.
And then a piece of information leading you into stoppage time from your guests that will be visiting. Charlotte FC has announced that Jalen Lindsay has signed a new contract through 2024 with a club option for 2025.
I think that had been rumored as something they were going to do early on. Makes sense. He was under his previous deal with Sporting Kansas City. He's at home now. He's been a big part of that team. He's done really well. So of course you're gonna stretch there and make it work and keep him around for a while. That's why you went out and got him. Katie agrees with the good sideline fit for Pep. Good. I'm glad I got backing on that. I wanted to make sure I had the consensus there so I didn't get yelled at for a hot take. Chris Berry has now realized what the Bird app means. Yeah, I'm a little salty towards the Bird app these days because it's just, man, I think why I'm salty is I've been on the Bird app for a long time, probably too long in my life on the Bird app. And the Bird app can be a very useful tool for learning about anything you want to learn about the world. This game can be a great networking tool. Lots of good things can happen because of the Bird app. Lots of good things have happened to me in my life because of the Bird app. And it can also be one of the most toxic places you can ever imagine in your life. Mm-hmm. And it's turned more toxic. And that's what I don't like about the Bird app is it has just gotten to be at times in this sport, and maybe because of the hashtag USMNT and others, it's not a fun place to be. I use lists. I create lists. I've got some that are public that are experts in Europe and South America and MLS and all of that, I will go there generally than just throughout the Bird app. I use the mute button vociferously on the Bird app, but I go to my lists and I try to manage my time there to be constructive. Highly recommended doing that. Highly recommended. Because there is a lot of good use of it. For me, especially where it is most useful is following the game from sources in Europe and South America. Love it. Absolutely love that aspect of it because I wouldn't have that access as easily in other places. Hate the toxicity and the name calling and the hot takes and the uninformed takes and the narratives that start and the, I don't know, anonymous accounts that like to pop up places with different anonymous accounts and like to try to start trouble. And some of those anonymous accounts who like to send messages to people trying to start trouble. I don't like that stuff. I'm not a fan of the Bird app these days, but I try to use it for good as much as I can and try to make it useful, and we do what we can, right? But social media has a lot of great things to it. It absolutely does. I'm never going to be one who tells young people coming up, because I've talked to people about how to use social media before, because it's been a very useful part of my professional life. We'll never tell you social media bad. Not at all. It can be incredibly useful, but it is a tool. It can be used for bad as much as it can be used for good. It's all about how you use it and how you allow it to affect you. That's what it is. So use it for good and just in general, just words to live by. And it's something that I always try to go to is put good into the world. Don't put toxic anger, just constantly hating on everything and everybody and whatever. Just don't put that into the world. What you put out comes back to you. So put good into the world. Don't waste your time with nonsense if you can help it. Sometimes, look, I know there's people who work in social media and that's their job. And yeah, you got to deal with it. And it sucks. It sucks. I can check out of it when I need to, which is very good. I do have to use it for things, and I do. But I try to manage my time more effectively with the Bird app and other social media platforms too. It's not just the Bird app. It's all about how you use it. It is a tool. It is nothing more. And use it for good if you are so inclined. And I hope if you're listening, you're so inclined. Couple of things. We do have a few more spots, not many, just a few left for our show tomorrow. And we will have special, capital S, guests, capital G, from Atlanta United. What are you doing, John?
I was trying to do a capital S.
You were like finger wagging me at first.
No,
It
I
wasn't
was trying to figure out how to properly draw an S, because if I write an S to me, that's backwards. So writing an S to everybody in Twitch pitch, and then writing a G to everybody in Twitch pitch, capital S, because it was backwards, and it's like, no, you're not trying to.
I just looked over and saw you finger wagging me. I'm like, what are you doing?
No, I'm right. I was writing a capital S.
Kimbe?
I was writing no, that's Dikembe. I was writing a capital S and then a capital G when you said capital S and capital G. Special, capital S, G.
Be careful with how this is another thing going back to social media. Be careful with how things can be interpreted. I just saw you doing like this. I'm like, what did I do?
Modifiers and context are important.
Yes. But also be very careful about how things can be interpreted when they're taken out of that context. Like you finger wagging me.
That's a finger wag. This is skywriting. This is a finger wag. This is skywriting.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, tomorrow, Elsewhere Brewing in Grant Park. You have to be on the list to guarantee getting in. It will be full. If you want to get on the list and you're coming and you listen to the show, and a bunch of you have reached out and said you're coming, which is awesome. It will be a show about the intersections between soccer, Argentina, Atlanta, culture, Atlanta United, the Argentine community in Atlanta, Argentina as a whole, all of that. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really, really looking forward to it, obviously. It'll be very cool. So hopefully we will see you there. If you can't join us, you can watch it on Twitch. You can listen back to us. We will release the podcast of this one. But really looking forward to it. It'll be a lot of fun. And yes, if you're going to watch from home, as Katie Weaver looks like she will have to do, Fernet and Coke will be highly recommended to go along with it. And you might want to try to find some empanadas as well to go with it. So it'll be a fun time. Hopefully we'll see some of you there, and we'll see some of you virtually. Later today, 2:00 on twitch.tv/stoppagetime929 and on facebook.com/929thegame. You can watch Stoppage Time. Will and Jess will be with us to talk about Charlotte. They'll be on at about 2:30. If you don't get to watch it live, you can watch it on Facebook at all times. It'll stay on the page on Facebook. And fingers crossed, a podcast edition will be released. We try very hard. Hopefully that gets sent out on time. But you can watch it on Facebook at all times. It will not be archived on Twitch. Just keep that in mind when you're looking for it later. And if you can't find it, just send me a message. I'll share the link with you. That's at 2:00. And then we're back tomorrow. We got a bunch of stuff to recap tomorrow with Champions League this afternoon. Really interesting game with Chelsea and Real Madrid. A ton of Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup games. So we'll try to get through a bunch of Libertadores games and Sudamericana games that we'll try to give you the highlights of. You've got the 6-pointer in the relegation scrap between Burnley and Everton in the Premier League. That is a huge game. You've got Red Bull Bragantino in Libertadores hosting Nacional. That's a really intriguing Libertadores game at 6:00. I like that one. Looks like America Mineiro and Independiente del Valle is back on in CONMEBOL Libertadores action. That was canceled at one point, but I think it was a SofaScore mistake, actually. So I think that game is fine. Because, I see what they did. Because in that same group, and this is confusing. Let me confirm it just to make sure here. In that same group in the Libertadores, let me find it. You have, of course, they'd get drawn in the same group. You have Atlético Mineiro and América Mineiro. Brazilian rivals in the same group in Copa Libertadores. What could go wrong? You had the Paraguayan rivals yesterday, scoreless draw, but you've got the two Mineiro clubs in the Libertadores together. And I think SofaScore actually attributed the game to the wrong Mineiro initially. Oops. So it shows as a canceled, but it's not. It's América Mineiro hosting Independiente del Valle at 6:00 today. Tolima of Colombia is hosting Atlético Mineiro, the defending Brazilian champions. That is at 8:00. 8:00 as well, Alianza Lima and River Plate, and Talleres hosting Universidad Católica in Libertadores action. You also have Defensa y Justicia on the road in Sudamericana action at 8:30. They are at Club Deportivo Antofagasta. That's the thing about the Sudamericana. You can learn about a lot of teams, like the Generals Club in Paraguay.
Yeah.
General Caballero. All these different clubs. The Aviator named team from Bolivia that didn't have the right plane hired for getting to Chile. And
This is a road favorite, too.
Who is?
Defensa.
Well, they should be. Yeah, duh. Have you heard about this Defensa Justicia, John?
They've had their moments, yes.
You know, I mean, we've talked about them for years. They were the first to get the SDH bump. They've won a Copa Sudamericana. They are very good in the Copa de la Liga and in Argentine football as a whole. And they are going to face a team that has a really good badge from Chile, Club Deportivo Antofagasta, but not a team that you normally associate with winning continental trophies. So, yes, Defensa should be the large road favorite there. That is not a surprise in that one. Sorry to all the Antofagasta fans out there who are going to be very upset with me, but I'm a Defensa guy, so deal with it. All right, we will try to be well informed, and we will try to have no hot takes tomorrow. We make no guarantees. We'll do our best, but we'll be back at 9:05, and we'll be on the Discord for the rest of the day, chatting about all these games. Thanks for hanging out with us. Y'all have a good rest of the day. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.